Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Sunday morning live stream for Week 17 of the 2024 fantasy football season. This is the final Sunday for many of us. Of course, the events that take place within the next 24 to 48 hours will determine whether we are fantasy football champions or we are the second loser within the or the first loser technically within the overall thing. I mean, hopefully, yesterday's events panned out in your favor. That's hopefully. If you suffered the unfortunate events that took place with James Conner, if you suffered the unfortunate events of losing even more players due to the injuries that were designated yesterday, hopefully we can get back on track, perhaps pick up some players in order to set ourselves up for success. Of course, yesterday, as soon as the live stream ended, we got clarity on all the situations that we were still questioning. First and foremost, Anthony Richardson expected not to play. It is going to be Joe Flacco, which increases the overall value of players like Josh Downs, Michael Pittman Jr. Additionally, Tua Tagovailoa hit with a doubtful tag. That makes every single Miami Dolphin a downgrade outside of their defense. Additionally, players like Tyjae Spears getting a huge upgrade considering Tony Pollard is not expected to play, Christian Watson not expected to play. We've gotten a little bit more clarification on many of the overall circumstances as we approach Week 17 and the beginning. Over the course of the next 3 hours, we're answering any and all fantasy football related questions. If you guys have a question, whether it is via the live chat and or the super chat, make sure you include your scoring format, whether it is a standard, half PPR, full PPR, 4-point per passing touchdown, 6-point per passing touchdown, whatever your league ends up being, point per first down, tight end premium, as long as you provide the context of what your current league's format is, it'll make my life that much easier. I greatly appreciate you guys. And outside of that, I think we're good to go. Again, a reminder for those of you guys who are members of the Patreon and or sign up using code Andrew via Underdog, those emails have been sent out. So if you're a member of the Patreon, the rankings have been posted earlier this morning. And of course, if you sign up via Underdog, using code Andrew from August 1st till yesterday midnight, those rankings have been sent from my email directly to yours, which include today's rankings and ready to go. Outside of that, again, with all these games that have already transpired thus far this week, I would say that this is the thinnest kind of version of the rankings that we've had on a Sunday morning because so many players are missing. Again, I don't include any of the players who have already played up here. So we have guys like Ray McLeod and even Parker Washington still ranked in this situation. I mean, shoot, I have to rank Mac Jones because of how many quarterbacks have played, but I just wanted to go ahead and throw all of the context at the wall just in case if you were in a situation in which these rankings could potentially help you out, they do so. Okay, let's go ahead and let's begin by answering questions. The first one of the day coming in via super chat from Gustavo Vega. Thank you very much, Gustavo. I appreciate it, sir. Says in a full PPR, flex spot, London, Thielen, or Jerome Ford. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go to the full PPR. I believe I have Drake London ranked the highest of the bunch, but let me confirm this right now. As it currently stands between the three, I do have Drake London ranked the highest of the bunch. It says also riding with Flacco due to Hurts being out. Go Joe Flacco. Yeah, I mean, look, winning a championship with Joe Flacco just seems poetic based on how this season has gone. The fact that you're, missing, Jalen Hurts in this circumstance, obviously is rough, but Joe Flacco is a fantastic pickup and play in his absence. But yeah, between those three available options, London will be 1, Thielen will be 2, and Jerome Ford will be 3 as it currently stands. Thank you. Trey sends in a question. Thank you, Trey. I appreciate it. Says PPR, Jonnu Smith / no Tua or Laporta. I'd much rather have Laporta. So what you guys will see as we progress over the course of today's live stream, when you look at these rankings in specific, so Jonnu Smith has moved down to the number 5 spot in comparison to where he originally was. Devon Achane has dropped considerably, and so has Tyreek Hill. Even with the potential of Jalen Waddle not expected to play today, and Tyler Huntley playing quarterback, really the only guy that I trust within this offense is Jonnu Smith, to kind of maintain majority of their value, considering the last time out when we saw Tyler Huntley as a starting quarterback of this offense, when Tua Tagovailoa was missing earlier this year, Jonnu Smith did get himself the greater workload share in terms of the receiving game. Unfortunately, with less target volume going in the direction of guys like Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane, who certainly need the target volume to go in the direction, they'll certainly need to score touchdowns in order to be as fantasy relevant as they once were. It's a rough situation going into Week 17 that we have to deal with this, but it is the reality of said situation. As for your next question, Trey, you said flex, London, or Breece Hall. Depends on format, but if you're playing in a full PPR, I'd much rather have Drake London. When I say much rather, I have Drake London 1 spot ahead of Breece Hall in a full PPR based on my current projections. So I would lean in the direction of Drake London, but again, they're back-to-back ranked. They're in the same tier, so I could justify playing one over the other, but I would suggest you play London there. Thank you. Austin Hoover sends in a question. Thank you, Austin. I appreciate it. Austin says the following. Says in a full PPR, pick 2, Ford, Thielen, Debo, Jennings. Thank you. Thank you for all the help this year. Okay, no problem. Glad to help, Austin. So in a full PPR, for starting 2 of these available options, I believe both of my suggestions are going to be the San Francisco wide receivers. Yeah. So my 2 highest ranked players of those 4 is both Debo and Jawan Jennings. Clear weather, Monday night against the Detroit Lions secondary that has allowed the 10th most points to opposing wide receivers. I would play both Debo and Jennings in order to avoid any sort of weather concerns that Thielen could potentially be implicated for. And Ford, I mean, again, I think Ford is going to be a little bit more of a viable option technically, considering the Miami offense may not be able to pull away with a drastic lead as we originally thought because of the potential absence of Tua Tagovailoa. So I think that Ford could be viable as a potential option here, but I would play both Debo and Jennings if I was in your situation. Austin, thank you. Appreciate it, brother. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, this morning, I had a little bit of complications starting the live stream for some reason. If you guys find that somehow, some way, just for future reference, just want to put it out there, if somehow, some way you refresh the live stream and it breaks, okay, somehow, some way, just throwing it out there. I'm saying don't refresh it right now, but I'm just saying if you do and it breaks, just keep in mind, just go back to the channel and find the live stream again, because I don't know what is going on this morning, but the YouTube system was not really... They weren't messing around with me too much this morning. They were just giving me problems and complications. But we are live, and that is a good thing. Here to help. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. All right, let's see here. We had a question from Brayo, who says, I need some help. In my super flex position, I have Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, Jerome Ford, Rico Dowdle, Isaac Guerrero. Pick one. I would play Joe Flacco there very comfortably. Also, there does Achane fall without Tua? Yes. So, again, as of right now, it's going to show up here on screen in just a moment, so I will go ahead and give a little bit more contextual kind of understanding as to why we've moved it to the current position. So as you guys can see, Devon Achane is as low as RB12 of the remaining running backs, so I would prefer Brian Robinson, Breece Hall, Tyjae Spears, Aaron Jones, etc. ahead of him this week. Again, like we've talked about, with Tua Tagovailoa in the lineup, what Achane is able to get within the receiving game, we've talked about it over the course of this entire season. In 11 of the last 12 games with Tua, getting 4+ receptions. In like 7 of those games, getting 6+ receptions. In the absence of getting, a potential 3 to 6 to even more, maybe even 10+ swing within the receiving category, because Tyler Huntley will be the quarterback and will be a little bit more of a scrambling quarterback, less than a check down option. Considering that, it will really be on the offensive line and Devon Achane's rushing upside to really kind of meet his potential within the given week, because that receiving utilization will not be as actualized as it typically is, because, Tua is not running the offense as it currently stands. But yeah, as of right now, in your position, Brayo, I would suggest playing Flacco over the alternatives. Thank you, sir. Magic Bell sends in a question, says full PPR, Devontae Smith or Rico Dowdle. As it currently stands, I have Devontae Smith ranked higher. I have this own decision to make in my own home league championship. I currently have Devontae Smith within my flex over Dowdle in a full PPR. I'd much prefer to go in that direction. Thank you. OJ Running sends in a question, says, happy, healthy New Year, Drew. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thank you, OJ. I appreciate that. Happy New Year. Of course, happy holidays to all of us. And hopefully, fingers crossed, a happy 2024 championship by the end of tomorrow night. Daniel Chavez sends in the question. Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it, brother. Says full PPR, choose one defense. Packers, Raiders, or Minnesota. As of right now, I would go with the Raiders defense. Again, with Spencer Rattler playing a quarterback, the way that this offensive line has been a little bit beat up. Again, I think 2 of the starting offensive linemen yesterday were designated out for the New Orleans Saints. It does not bode well for their offensive kind of approach going into today's game. I think the Raiders will be in a little bit more of an advantageous position in comparison to where I originally thought, which again, I still thought they were going to be solid, but I think it just continues to build a stronger kind of potential for them playing well. As for Minnesota or Packers, I'd probably rather have Minnesota at this point, but between the 3 of them, the Raiders, I think, are the correct answer if we're going to start spot one of them. All right. Josh sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, do I play London or Achane? As it currently stands, I believe, let me just confirm this myself. Yeah, I have Drake London 3 spots ahead of Devon Achane. Again, without the receiving utilization being able to be actualized, I don't believe that he is going to be as viable of a play. If we go back earlier this season in the games in which we have seen Devon Achane play with Tyler Huntley at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, in those games, the overall opportunity share, it just quite frankly wasn't enough within... Okay, why is this happening? What is going on here? Can this thing just function properly? Thank you. the overall receiving target opportunity, just again, it's not enough. Like objectively, if we travel back to, okay, so Tua missed weeks 3, 5, and 7. Obviously 3, 4, 5, and 7. Week 5, Devon Achane sustained a concussion, so I won't even use that in the overall idea of like kind of using it against Devon Achane. So if we just talk about weeks 3, 4, and 7 for Achane this season, in terms of target opportunity, I mean, these games are brutal. I mean, at least in week 7, he got himself 6 catches for 50, but ultimately, that's week 8, my bad. Going back to week 7. 3 targets, 2 catches, 8 yards. We go back to week 4, 3 catches on 3 targets, 14 receiving yards. Nothing comparatively to what we've seen as of late, which in the last 3 games, he's had 8, 6, 7, 6 receptions on each of those games. So again, the overall utilization and upside, not as, unfortunately, kind of stable in this circumstance. Dragon Slayer sends in a question, says PPR Tyjae Spears or Jonnu Smith. I'd much rather play Tyjae Spears, considering Tony Pollard is not going to play today. Tyjae Spears is a top tier option within the offense, especially considering he's played with Tony. Okay. Okay, all right. I think I'm back. If you guys can, do me a favor. Type 1 in the live chat if I'm back in live, because I believe my internet or YouTube just completely crashed moments ago. RIP stream, I'm still here. I told you guys I'm having problems this morning for some reason. I don't know what the cause is, but I know it. Okay, thank you for clicking 1, Emmy. I appreciate that, brother. Okay, so now we're good. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. As soon as I looked down and I saw my bitrate was like completely zeroed, we're good. Okay, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Much love. All right, continuing on. I knew it, guys. This is what I was saying. If at any point the live stream explodes, breaks, be patient. I will be back in a second. Whether it is my internet or whether it is the live stream itself, I'll refire up the live stream if need be. But glad that we're back. It's choppy though. Yeah, that I can't really control. That's just probably a matter of, that might be a refresh on your end. Because honestly, at this point, I that's just my internet. If it's choppy, it's choppy. I can't do nothing about it. All right, my bad, guys. Anyway, continuing on. Let's see here. Let's get back to what the question was originally. I don't even know where I was at. Okay, yeah. So Dragon Slayer was asking Tyjae Spears or Jonnu Smith. I'd much rather play Tyjae Spears. Again, Pollard out makes it an automatic play in that circumstance. As for your next question, Josh Downs or Adam Thielen. In a full PPR scoring format, I would suggest you play Josh Downs there this week. Thank you. Again, with Joe Flacco within the lineup, Josh Downs is a completely different machine for fantasy purposes, getting himself like 6+ receptions, typically with Joe Flacco's upside there, making the offense a little bit more of an impactful passing attack in comparison to what we saw last week. Thank you. Ray C sends in a question. Ray, thank you very much, sir. Says Tracy Garendo, Okay, Tracy Spears Garendo. Got it. If I'm picking 2 of those available options in a full PPR, I would suggest you play Spears and Tracy as of the given week. Again, in the full PPR format, there is a potential in which Garendo could get himself some receiving utilizations there, but ultimately within a negative game script, I would prefer to have a player of the caliber of Tracy, considering his usage within the receiving game and how it's been prompted as of the last couple weeks here. A little bit more comfortable going Spears Tracy there, Ray. Thank you. Colby sends in a question, says if Tua is out, which he's going to be, Achane or Garendo. Again, we've talked about it in the past, and I'll go ahead and reiterate, guys. Over the course of this entire season, I don't remember a single time a player has been given the doubtful designation and still ends up playing. So you should not anticipate Tua to play. If you have another quarterback option available, probably get into a position to where you're pivoting to that player. Hopefully the quarterbacks that are available on screen when it filters through can kind of prompt you as to the direction I would go in. But as of right now, for your question, even in the event in which Tua is out, I'd still play Achane over Garendo. I'm not getting to the point to where I'd rather play Garendo still. I still think that Achane in a run-heavy approach in a weather game against Cleveland still could find semblance of success. Is it going to be as high of upside as he typically has? No, absolutely not. But still think that he's going to be relevant. Also, Hawkinson or Chigoziem Okonkwo. I will take Okonkwo there over Hawkinson. Colby, thank you. Next question, finally, Devontae Smith or Garrett Wilson, full PPR. As it currently stands, I mean, we've heard a lot about Devontae Smith, whether he's going to be healthy, all that kind of jazz. I would expect that, Devontae Adams, whether he's going to be healthy with the hip injury, everything is pointed towards he is healthy. It was just a matter of kind of keeping him sustained over the course of the week as they approach Sunday. I would prefer to play Devontae Smith in this situation, full PPR. Thank you, brother. Says, thanks, man. Chase Brown sold me by sliding at the 1 yard line. Yeah, that was brutal. As soon as I saw him take a dive at the 1 yard line in order to try to kill the clock. And then they had an injury timeout. I was like, bruh, so many people are going to be pissed for fantasy because he took that dive. Like, he should have scored anyway, because the next play ends up being Joe Burrow rushing touchdown. Absolutely brutal. One of the bad beats that you could possibly find. Brian Thomas says, any props today? The only props that I would theoretically suggest are the ones that I've suggested over the course of the last 2 days. Just to go ahead and pop them up on screen so we're on the same page regarding where kind of the direction I'm going in there. Let me go ahead and show you. So the last 2 days we put together a couple entries, and I'm more than happy to go ahead and throw it up on screen really quickly. These are the entries that we've gone with. So far, so good. So this was the one that we made yesterday. The only thing that's left remaining is Jared Goff passing touchdowns. Otherwise, the other two legs hit. And then this is the other entry of Chigoziem Okonkwo and Terry McLaurin going higher on their receiving yards. So these are the only ones that I've kind of put together as of this week. If you want to go ahead and theoretically put together a Goff, Okonkwo, McLaurin entry, I guess that would technically be tailing the play for today. But yeah, that is the way that I've gone about it as of thus far this week. Nothing else in terms of extensive entries. Primarily just focused on kind of adjusting rankings, considering all of the circumstance that has taken place over the course of this week, with so many injuries being such an impactful kind of role within Championship Sunday, which I don't remember the last time that it was at this capacity. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, brother. Alrighty, really quickly, let's go ahead. Let's close this link. Let's close this, and we should be good to go. I'm going to assume that my YouTube just crashed. Yep, it did. All right, we're good to go. It's not my stream, though. It is just my YouTube. Okay, all right. Maybe it is my stream. I don't know. Okay, no, we're good. Okay, good. All right, continuing on. We had a question that came in from a hot dog guy who says, I'm in the championship in a half PPR. I lost Lamb, Kenneth Walker, Chuba Hubbard, and David Njoku. I need one wide receiver and one flex. My available options are McMillan, Myers, Coker, Dowdle, and both Raiders running backs. Okay, if you're playing in a half PPR and that is your circumstance, I believe, let me just confirm this for my half PPR rankings. I need to find McMillan. So as it currently stands, if I was going to suggest two players out of the group, I would go with McMillan and I would go with Madison. Those are my two highest ranked players of your current circumstance in a half PPR hot dog guy. Thank you. Daniel Chavez sends in a follow-up question. Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Daniel says, full PPR. Tight ends, we have Hawkinson, Okonkwo. I will take Okonkwo there. Kicker, Moody or McLaughlin. I would, as it currently stands, I guess McLaughlin's technically in a little bit more of a heavy rain situation. I do believe even in that circumstance, McLaughlin will be the better play. The Carolina Panthers are allowing the most fantasy points to opposing kickers thus far this season. McLaughlin should be the better play of the two. But if you wanted to avoid any sort of rain potential, I guess you could go Moody there for the Monday night matchup. But if I was in your position, I'd play McLaughlin. Daniel Carson's always a potential option there as well, considering they're playing indoors, but not too keen on the idea there. So I'd go McLaughlin with Okonkwo. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Shooter McGavin sends in a question, says, this is it. I need one running back and one wide receiver. I have Spears and JT for my running back, McMillan, Thielen, and Neighbors at wide receiver. Thanks for all the help this season. Okay, so if you have Spears and JT, and those are the two running backs that you can choose from, you're playing Jonathan Taylor. As for your other question, for wide receiver, McMillan, Thielen, and Neighbors, I'm playing Neighbors there. That's the way that I'd go about it. So if those are your available options and we have to pick one of each, JT and Neighbors is where I'd go with. Thank you, Shooter. Appreciate it. Medina sends in a question. Thank you very much, Medina. Medina's question is as follows. Hello, Andrew. See the question in the live chat. Okay, very well. So let me see if I can find your name in the live chat, and then we'll go ahead and answer that accordingly. Let's go ahead and open up my notepad so I can write down your name and effectively find it if you haven't typed it in yet. All right, Medina, what do we have here? Okay, Medina says, do I stick with the Miami Dolphins defense with the disadvantage of no Tua on offense, or pivot to the Raiders, or go back to Green Bay? That has pretty much got me here. Thanks. Look, here's the thing. The Dolphins defense, there could be an argument that is made in regards to the potential, which the defense has struggles because offensively they're not able to move the ball. The defense is on the field on a consistent rate and obviously is, getting tired in that situation. But ultimately, when you're taking on Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jameis Winston is inactive today. I would purely say that it is a pretty advantageous matchup still for the Miami Dolphins defense because Dorian Thompson-Robinson has proven he really can't push the ball down the field. They lost Njoku, who was his favorite target last week. He didn't want to throw the ball in the direction of guys like Jerry Jeudy nor Elijah Moore on a consistent rate. Outside of dumping it off to Jerome Ford, which was their biggest offensive piece, and considering how well the Miami Dolphins run-stop defense has played over the course of the season, I do think that still the Miami Dolphins defense is still the better play of the bunch. If you were worried about it, you wanted to pivot elsewhere, again, the next best option, in my opinion, if I was going to suggest one, would be the Raiders. Thank you, Medina. Appreciate it, brother. All right, let's see here. Continuing on, we have that one taken care of. All right, the next question comes in from Heisenberg. Thank you very much. It says, finals for me, Kraft or Wicks in the flex. All right, let me check my rank. Actually, it depends on format, but ultimately, if the assumption of Christian Watson not playing is going to come to fruition, which again, that was the report that was put out, I think, earlier this morning around like 1 or 2 a.m., that Christian Watson is not expected to play. I think it does theoretically elevate the potential of Dontavion Wicks. But again, there's not really a guarantee. I know Dontavion Wicks last time out against this defense had himself an incredibly nuclear performance. If we're playing in like a full PPR, I could justify playing Wicks, but ultimately, I think I just want to play it safe. I just want to play Kraft, get the consistent points that he's been contributing in a half PPR. 4 of the last 5 games, 8+ fantasy points. In a full PPR, that's probably 4 of the last 5 with 10+ fantasy points. I'll just take those consistent points. I don't really want to risk it. And I also think that Kraft, based on his recent performance against the Minnesota Vikings earlier this season, also has potential for upside. So for right now, I lean towards playing Kraft there. All right, moving on to Lisa Swan's question, who says PPR 2 flex. We have Achane, Evans, Bucky, Aaron Jones, Cook. Of those available options in a full PPR scoring format, my primary 2 suggestions would be, as it stands, probably Bucky, Irving, and Evans. Let me see where I have Evans compared to these other running backs in my full PPR rankings. Yeah, so as it currently stands, it would be Bucky Irving and Mike Evans as the 2 highest ranked. If you wanted to avoid Evans, I don't know for what reason, why, but let's say you wanted to, the next best option, in my opinion, at that point, what's your format? Full PPR. I think the next best option in that circumstance probably just ends up being James Cook and Bucky Irving. Not really interested in playing Achane. So for right now, Evans and Bucky are my primary 2 options suggested. If you needed a third, Cook would be the guy. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Jacob F. sends in a question. Says, PPR Strange or Conklin? I'd much rather play Tyler Conklin based on the overall injuries to that defense and the overall kind of success the Titans have recently found against the Buffalo Bills. It says BS might have more upside. Yeah, Brenton Strange could theoretically have more upside, but even back a couple weeks ago, week 14, when the Tennessee Titans took on the Jacksonville Jaguars, Evan Ingram and Brenton Strange as a combined duo had like 7 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards. It wasn't like a omega upside performance, even with Evan Ingram active within the game. So ultimately, if I'm looking in the direction of those 2, I'm willing to risk it and go Conklin based on the fact that the Buffalo Bills have definitely struggled in terms of stopping opposing tight ends as of late, and certainly could do so once again this week, considering their injuries to their safeties. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Any new reports? I'm seeing a couple updates on Twitter. No, nothing crazy. Okay. Continuing on, we had a question that came in from Bonk, who says, pick one, Miami defense or the Colts. I prefer to play the Colts defense. Again, guys, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome, good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy holidays, Happy New Year, all this kind of jazz. The rankings that are right here on the right side of the screen are updated as of this morning. They include only players who have yet to play going into this week. So these are, again, relatively thin rankings. When I have guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Julius Chestnut ranked on screen, okay, it gives you an understanding that it is relatively thin, but that's because of all the games who have already taken place. But if you were looking for interpositional rankings as to how I would approach it tonight, I would just suggest you look in this direction as to how I would go ahead and approach it. So in regards to that Colts versus Miami defense, give me the Colts. Thank you. All right, Seymour Carr sends in a question. Says in a half PPR, pick 2, Bigsby, Abdullah, ETN, or Blackshear. Okay. Between those available, it says I had Connor go out yesterday. He has Madison. Understood. Of those available options, if you were going to pick 2 of them, as it currently stands in a half PPR, I believe I have ETN and Bigsby as the 2 highest ranked players. I honestly think also that is the best approach for you in this circumstance in order to make sure that there's no leakage of potential value out of the backfield. So what I mean by that is, in the case of your situation, considering again, you do have both Jacksonville running backs, and there's always the potential that one can steal a touchdown from the other, and we have seen it week over week. We've seen kind of high upside one way, and in the other way, a player kind of disappears. If there's a potential in which this is going to be a close game script, and both ETN and Bigsby are going to have neck and neck overall total touches, I think it's probably in your best interest to roll with both of them to encapsulate the entire backfield value and sort of, instead of just throwing out one guy and then losing out on value if the other one steals a touchdown. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next question. We had, but why though? Who says, I don't trust Tyreek Hill without Tua. Neither do I, brother. Don't even get it twisted. Tyreek Hill on screen, where do I have him ranked? Let me see. You're in a half PPR today. I have Tyreek Hill as 25. Yeah, he's behind Romeo Doubs. Okay, that kind of gives you an understanding as to how much I do not trust him, even with the circumstance. The weather, the quarterback play, the lack of Tua, it's not a great picture for this week. It says, would you rather play McMillan or Madison? It depends on format. Let me see where I have McMillan and Madison in a full PPR, and I'll let you know right now as to which way we go about it. As it currently stands, I think, the way that I currently have it ranked, regardless of format, I have Madison ranked higher. So that's the direction that I would lean in. And that's what I would suggest as of right now for you. It says flex spot opposite Keenan Allen, who only scored 7 points. Yeah, look, as of right now, I don't mind the idea of playing McMillan in a full PPR. Currently, the only separation between McMillan and Madison within a full PPR is like 3 ranks. Actually, it's 2 ranks. So it's relatively close. But yeah, Madison is the projected higher in my current model. Thank you. Lock Screen Gaming sends in a question. Says, I'm projected to win. PPR, Dolphins or Colts defense? I prefer the Colts defense there. Thank you. Onage sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Flex, Achane, Spears, Garendo, Tracy, Debo, Shakir, Thielen. Cool. If I'm playing one of those available options within the flex position, I am playing Tyjae Spears. Debo Samuel is another alternative option that I'd be very comfortable rolling with. But as it currently stands, I feel I could convince myself to go either way. They're within the same tier. I'm going to suggest you play Spears, but I could justify playing Debo there. I truly could. I wouldn't even mind if you play Debo. It's not even a matter where I'm outright saying you have to go one way or the other. I think it's a 50-50 coin toss. I'd prefer to play Spears. I think there's a little bit more touchdown potential for upside in that circumstance. Thank you. Chubbs McGee sends out a question. Says, questions in the comments. Let's get this chip. Thank you very much, Chubbs. Appreciate it, brother. Let's see what we have in the live chat. All right. Let's see if I can find your name. Okay. You're going to probably have to retype in your question because by the time you sent that in and when you originally typed in your question to the live stream, the overall kind of live stream is updated ever since and your question has relatively disappeared. So I'm going to write your name down. If you can, type that in. And then once you have, I'll be more than happy to help you out with that situation, brother. All right. Until then, we will patiently wait for you to type in the question. I will go back to answering other questions that were sent in. One from Steven Dutz. Steven, if you can also type in your question in the live chat, I'm going to check that right now and see if that's available. Oda sends in a question, says in a half PPR, Blackshear, Chigoziem Okonkwo, Mike Boone, or Jalen Coker. As of right now, of the available, let me see where I have Okonkwo ranked in comparison to Blackshear, and I'll let you know. I'm assuming I'll have Okonkwo ranked higher because I don't really want to trust the backfield of, I have Chigoziem Okonkwo ranked higher. Unless Blackshear was going to fall into the end zone, or unless I had a clearer picture as to the split of opportunity share between Blackshear and Boone, I'd feel more comfortable going in that direction, but ultimately I don't have a clear picture of the situation. I don't trust the overall rushing attack outside of Chuba Hubbard, considering, again, Chuba Hubbard is an elite runner as of thus far this season. In his absence, I don't think any of these guys will be able to fill in, considering how well that Tampa Bay run-stop defense has played as of late. So I'd suggest you play Chigoziem Okonkwo there as it stands. Puka Doncic sends in a question, says full PPR, Juwan Jennings, Adam Thielen, or Ford. In a full PPR, my primary number one there is, in fact, Juwan Jennings. That is my number one suggestion. Number two, we'd go Thielen. Number three, we would go Ford. But as of right now, Jennings is the suggested play. Thank you. All right, let me go into the live chat. Let's see if Choobs McGee typed in his question. Choobs McGee says, in a full PPR, Superflex, 4-point per passing touchdown. If Tua is out, which he will be, pivot away from HN, yes. Other running back options are Cook and Bucky. I'd play Bucky Irving there. And then it says, wide receivers are Neighbors/Chase. Beautiful. Should I flex HN, Debo, or Flacco in my OP? As of right now, of those available, I would play Flacco there. If you wanted to be a little bit, I don't know if it's actually safer to play Debo. I don't actually believe it's safer to play Debo. I'd probably just go with Flacco there ultimately. But if you wanted to just kind of play someone that could get guaranteed, I'd say in a full PPR, 12 plus points, Debo Samuel's probably the guy you get there and you just throw him in the lineup. I'm not going to play HN though there. If I was in your position, I'm pivoting off of HN a running back and I'm playing Bucky Irving there against Carolina. And I'm probably just playing Flacco within my super flex position in a 4-point per passing touchdown format, McGee. If you were afraid of Flacco for any reason at all, I have no issue just pivoting to Debo there, but I would not consider HN as an option in comparison. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question. We need to find Steven as well, right? All right, Steven Dutz says, full PPR, Evans, AJ Brown, Spears, pick 2 in a full PPR. Thanks, man. Okay, so of those available options, that makes it interesting. Let me see where I have Spears in comparison to those options. As it currently stands, I do have Evans and AJ Brown ranked higher. Am I comfortable about that situation? Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that, to be honest. If it was my team, I'd play Evans and AJ Brown. That's the way that I go about it. If you were theoretically going to sit one for Spears, I would say it's AJ Brown that would theoretically sit if one was going to. But for right now, if it was my league and it was my team, I would play both wide receivers. Thank you. In a full PPR. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. Scroll back up here a little bit. Let's go find the next question on the effective list here. All right, so we had a question that came in from Gerardo, who says Rachaad White, Ridley, or Spears PPR. I would suggest you play Tyjae Spears there, Gerardo. Thank you. PL says, weather in Jacksonville scares me. Do I play Chigozie Okonkwo or Ferguson PPR? Yeah, look, as of right now, the weather implications for a lot of these games are pretty rough. I mentioned it yesterday or in the last couple days, and we can go ahead and just reiterate. Outside of the games that are played indoors, which for today will be the New Orleans versus Las Vegas game indoors, the Minnesota versus Green Bay game indoors, and tomorrow's game, which is outdoors, but San Francisco versus Detroit. Outside of those 3 games, every single game is implicated to have some sort of rain impact. So really, I don't know if there's a way in which you can avoid the rain outright. If we're talking about the Jacksonville game in specific, yes, definite thunderstorms is probably going to lead to a delay. Once the delay kind of elapses, they'll resume playing and then it'll be fine. But I'm not worried enough to where I'm thinking I have to completely pivot off of it. If you were going to, I think Ferguson is a solid option. Would I go as far as currently without looking at the weather and just assuming that it's going to be a heavy downpour? Pivot away, not necessarily. As of right now, I'd still have Chigozie Okonkwo in my lineup unless I saw something visually that wanted me to kind of lean away from the overall circumstance. But for right now, I'd still lean towards Chigozie. If the weather becomes a problem to where, yes, it's going to be a complete muddy mess and throwing the ball is almost impossible, then sure, we could just play Ferguson there because in the absence of Lamb, he'd be a pretty solid alternative. Thank you. Cinco2X sends in a question. Says PPR, Madison or Garendo? Between the two of them, as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, I have Madison ranked higher in a full PPR. Let me confirm this. I confirmed 1 spot ahead of Garendo. I have Alexander Madison in a full PPR. Says next question, Ford or Tracy Jr. Between the two of them, I would take Ford there. And then their last question, Jennings or London. Let me see where I have London and Jennings in a full PPR. As it currently stands, I still, wow, that one's rough. So in a full PPR, I have Jennings 1 spot ahead of Drake London. 1 spot. Am I committing to it? Yes. Mainly because in a full PPR, I don't want to mess with any weather there. If I can get a clean weather game out of Jennings on Monday night in comparison to the definite showers that are going to be taking place in that Washington game, I'd rather just take the Jennings circumstance there. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next question. Comes in from Big Verge. Thank you, Verge. Appreciate it. Verge says the following. Full PPR, Hawkinson or Chigozie Okonkwo at tight end? Very similar to the last question that was just asked by PL. If we're looking to avoid all weather implication, then you can just play Hawkinson there. I don't think Hawkinson's a better play because, again, I don't believe the target opportunity that he will be privy to is going to be enough to make him a sustainable option as he has been really up and down as of late. But again, if you were trying to avoid all weather impact, if we, prior to the game beginning 10 minutes before, if we saw the weather and it was absolutely a brutal situation, sure, we could pivot away and just play Hawkinson, who will be playing indoors at home today in a potential, high scoring game. But as of right now, I prefer to play Chigozie Okonkwo, assuming the weather is not going to be as devastating as possible. Thank you. JM sends in a question, says full PPR flex spot, pick 1. I had Mixon, Pickens, and Lamar go already. Garendo, Shakir, or Rico Dowdle. All right, let me see where I have Garendo in comparison to Shakir right now in a full PPR, and I'll let you know. As it currently stands, between the two of them, I would play Garendo there. That's my primary suggestion between those 3 available options that you have going into this week. Thank you, sir. All right, next question coming in from, we took care of that. Dad Dean sends in a question, says full PPR, Kincaid, Waddle, or Josh Downs. Josh Downs is my suggestion. He is the highest ranked of the 3 by a significant margin considering Flacco's playing. Thank you. Big Verge says, isn't it raining in Jacksonville? Yeah, it's going to rain in Jacksonville, but it's going to rain everywhere. Like, if I look at the overall percentages of rain, in these games, like Buffalo 66%, Tampa Bay 72%, Jacksonville 90+%, Washington 96%. Like everywhere is going to have a rain implication today. The Giants game a little bit less. I mean, currently sitting at like 15%, could drop. Eagles 13%, Browns 25%. So again, everything has an implication to potentially have a downpour. But yeah, as of right now, Jacksonville, it is expected to rain. Even in that circumstance, I'm still comfortable with it. I don't think the rain outright makes a player completely disappear. It's only if the rain accompanies a 50-mile-per-hour wind in which it takes the ball and floats it away that I'm worried. Otherwise, a lot of these quarterbacks in this league can zip a ball through 50-mile-per-hour wind. I'm not even worried about that. I've seen it year over year in which they've been able to, provide solid fantasy production within those kind of circumstances. Thank you. All right, we had a question from Prowl who says, why Sam over Baker? I need to pick up one for the chip. Yeah, I mean, look, if you were just outright talking about the potential of these games, I think what Sam Darnold could theoretically provide within the indoor stadium, all that kind of jazz, is probably technically safer. But I think that the upside of production that's, specifically Baker could find himself kind of falling within mainly is provided by the fact that the running game of the Carolina Panthers disappearing and the fact that the Carolina Panthers defense really just doesn't exist over the course of the season. I think that if the Panthers get into a situation in which effectively they're not able to string together consistent first downs, that's an advantage for Baker Mayfield. Additionally, if the Panthers are as good as they were last time out against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that'll just push Baker to scoring more. Ultimately, based on the overall construction of these games, the matchup in itself defensively, I think that it is in the favor of Baker rather than Darnold having to take on that Green Bay defense. I know that earlier this season, Darnold obviously went for a ridiculous game, 70+ passing completion percentage, absolutely tore apart this defense 28-0 by the end of the first half. I don't expect that to be the case. I think it'll be a little bit more of a competitive matchup as the Green Bay Packers defense will be obviously prepared for this outing in comparison to last time out. Let's see here. And you got to remember, like even in that last game against the Green Bay Packers, sure, they scored 28 in the first half, didn't score a single point in the second half until like the final minute of the game in which they kick a game-winning field goal. Otherwise, that defense adjusted relatively well in the circumstance. But again, they're back-to-back ranked. If you felt confident one way over the other, roll with it, brother. Wait, why didn't you say, why do I have Baker over Darnold? I have Darnold over Baker. Wait, what are we talking about here? Hold up. Wait. Do I not have Darnold over Baker? Yeah. I do have Darnold over Baker. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, scratch this. I was about to say, I was like, I read it wrong, and I was like, wait a minute. Am I supposed to defend Baker, or am I supposed to defend Darnold here? Dude, play Darnold. Just avoid the weather. Just go that way. How about that? Thank you very much. I still do think that Baker has potentially higher upside, though. I will admit to that. I certainly do believe that he has the higher upside. That being said, Sam Darnold, no other implication, probably the better of the two. Rob P sends in a question, says PPR, pick one. Achane, Ford, or Spears? I'd rather play Spears out of the group. Yeah, I don't really have to worry about that. Shung Bull sends in a question, says full PPR questions in the chat. Okay, thank you. So Shung, you're going to send in that question right now. If you can't, type it in again. Justin in the chat says, thanks, dude. Send in your question when you get a chance. And so does Carlos M. Carlos M, do me a favor, type that in when you get a chance, brother. Benjamin Porter sends in a question, says pick one in a full PPR, Breece Hall or Devontae Adams, concerned about the weather. As of right now, I'd lean in the direction of Devontae Adams. Somebody mentioned it yesterday. I think Aaron Rodgers needs one more passing touchdown to get to his 500th. Is that correct? Let me see here. How many career touchdowns does Mr. Aaron Rodgers have thus far? Let's see here. If I look at his career, he currently has 499. So again, if he was going to get his 500th, I'd assume it's going in the direction of Devontae Adams. So between the two of them in a full PPR, just give me Devontae Adams based on his overall recent production and the fact that, again, if we're going to see Aaron Rodgers throw a touchdown, it'll probably go in his direction if we're going to get anything. Thank you. All right, let me see if I can find you guys in the live chat really quickly. There's a couple questions. Again, that's Shung Bull. We need Justin. We need Carlos M. Thank you. All right, Shung, let's see if I can find you, brother. Let's see. Control F, Shung. Shung says, thanks, Andrew. This is the first time I've ever made it to the championship. Full PPR, Tyjae Spears or Juwan Jennings? I'd suggest you play Tyjae Spears there. Thank you, sir. All right, let's find Justin's question in the live chat. Justin says, no chat, just thanks, dude. I appreciate that, Justin. Have a good one, my man. If anything comes up, let me know. Carlos M, I'm waiting for your question. Until then, I see a Carlos in the chat who says, full PPR, would you roll with Reed over McMillan due to weather? I would consider it. 100% jumping in that direction. If I can get a visual glimpse, again, in about 2 hours from now, I'll go and I'll look at these games, specifically like live footage on the field. I want to get an idea as to if it's actually raining or not, because there have been multiple circumstances over the course of the years, even this season, in which it has a high percentage chance of like rain in the generalized region, but it's not taking place over the stadium in specific. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as to whether or not these games are actually going to be impacted by weather, or whether it's just fear mongering by the local news stations leading us away from some of these plays. But I will wait for Carlos M to type that in when he gets a chance. Until then, we will continue on with the following questions. Let me put Carlos's name here just so that I don't forget to do that in the future. All right, good to go. Okay, next question comes in from Chris Moraga, who says, in a full PPR, thank you, Chris, appreciate it, says, do I play Tracy, Blackshear, Abdullah, Dobbs, or Hawkinson? I play Tyrone Tracy Jr. there. Thank you, Chris, appreciate it. Rusty Wright sends in a question, says, I got shelled by Joe B. Shelled? By Joe B and Connor killed me. Okay, so you played against Joey Burrow and you got killed by Connor. Got it. Says I have Jaden Daniels, Tyjae Spears, BTJ, Bowers left, one flex, Neighbors, Tracy, Madison, Janu, starting the Colts defense. I'm nervous about New York Giants. I mean, if you're nervous about the New York Giants, theoretically your next best play there would be Madison. So you could go in that direction and get like a solid 10 points there, considering the New Orleans Saints run stop defense is non-existent. Or you just play Neighbors because in a full PPR format, he has the safest floor of the overall group. He's probably going to get himself, even with weather implication, upwards of 10 to 13, 15 targets in this circumstance. If he catches half of the balls for, 10 yards per catch, he's going to be a 13 to 15 point player in a full PPR format. So if I was in your position, I just lean towards the safety there. Again, it's not a guarantee that he scores a touchdown, so I'm not really worried about your Colts defense. But if we're just looking for a baseline floor, he is the advantage. If you were going to go elsewhere, Madison will be the next best option. Thank you, Rusty. KDX sends in a question, says, thanks you for helping guide me to the championship, Andrew. In a full PPR, I need one wide receiver and one flex between Downs, Jawan Jennings, McMillan, Thielen, and Brian Robinson Jr. Okay, so in a full PPR, I believe that Josh Downs and Jawan Jennings are your two most valuable prospects in this circumstance, considering the full PPR format. Now, where do I have Brian Robinson comparatively to these options? Let me just check my full PPR. Brian Robinson sits there. Yeah, he's slightly behind the two, but Josh Downs and Jennings are my two highest ranked of the current circumstance. Again, Josh Downs, guys, for those of you who are wondering the context as to why he's jumped so greatly within the rankings, Joe Flacco is expected to play. Anthony Richardson will be out due to the back and foot injury. And considering Joe Flacco earlier this season with Josh Downs, that was his favorite target. And Josh Downs had multiple weeks in a full PPR of 15 plus fantasy points consistently, and also had additional touchdown upside. It makes him an incredible play this week against the Giants defense. So Downs and McMillan are my two suggestions. As for your next question, Chigoziem Okonkwo or Jonnu, I would prefer to play Okonkwo in that situation. If you wanted to play Jonnu, you certainly can. We have seen Jonnu Smith with Tyler Huntley be relevant. Back, if we talk about that Indianapolis Colts game earlier this season, I think week 7? I think it was week 7. Had himself a pretty solid game there. So even without Tua, Jonnu Smith will be implicated for solid points. As to how much more upside he has than Okonkwo, I think it's relatively similar. But for right now, I'd lean in the direction of Okonkwo, assuming the weather is not going to be a horrible disaster. Anonymous sends in a question, says, I'm facing Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Gibbs, and Amon-Ra. Questions in the chat. Okay, Anonymous. So you're obviously up against the... You're facing the Avengers this week, is what you're kind of conveying to me at this moment. So let's go ahead and let's find your question in the live chat, and hopefully Carlos M will type in his question effectively. Anonymous, I don't see a question from you in the live chat. If you could do me a favor and retype that in, that'd be greatly appreciated, sir. Thank you. Until then, let me see if Carlos typed in his question. Carlos says, morning, brother. Thanks for all the hard work. Thielen or McMillan? Yeah, I'm perfectly fine going Thielen over McMillan. Really need a miracle? Yeah, as of right now, between the two of them, considering, again, I do anticipate that Carolina Panthers offense to ditch the running game relatively early because of their, matchup and additionally the absence of Chuba Hubbard. It should lead to more opportunity for Thielen. It really should. And enough to where it should be comparable to what he saw last time against that defense. Not to the extent to where, he'll be able to survive every single rain situation, but as of right now, enough to where he should be a more valuable option comparatively to McMillan there. Thank you. Mo in the chat says, why is Tyreek Hill ranked so low with Waddle expected to miss? Yeah, so as it currently stands, Mo, Tua Tagovailoa was given the doubtful designation due to his hip injury. Again, we've talked about it all season long. Unfortunately, when given the doubtful designation, there's about a 99% chance you don't play. So my expectation is that Tua Tagovailoa will not be active today in that situation. Actually, let me just go check. Maybe he's already been given the out designation and I'm not even privy to it. After waking up after today's, he's not out yet, but again, downgraded to doubtful. I have not seen a single player on offense this season be given the doubtful tag and still play. So don't expect for Tua to play today. He's projected at 0 across all platforms. And in the absence of Tua, I don't think we can trust Tyreek Hill at all in any circumstance. Now, if you were desperate and you were like, listen, Andrew, I'm just going for the miracle ball, then we go for the miracle ball. So be it. Thank you. All right, let me see if Anonymous typed in his question, and then once we do that, we'll be good to go. Live chat. Anonymous. There it is. It says that a half PPR, one flex league, we have Mooney, Downs, or Dobbs, even with Flacco. I'm worried about game script favoring JT. Yep, and the defense. Cool. Mooney and Dobbs are possible shootouts. Dobbs versus Minnesota, 32 ranked versus wide receivers, and no Watson. Thoughts? Yeah, look, as of right now, of the available Mooney, Downs, Dobbs, the only issue that I ever have with Dobbs purely is the unfortunate reality that the Packers offense is just too unpredictable. Like, at least I know for a fact that Downs is going to get the most targets of this entire offense. Like, I know for sure that. Now, as for Dobbs, like, this could be a week in which Kraft, Reed, and Wicks all ball out, and Dobbs is the odd man out, and he's just sitting there with 4 catches for 40 yards. Like, that is a legitimate reality. I would prefer to just play the guy that I know for sure is going to get the extensive volume of opportunity, because again, we talk about it all the time, opportunity leads to success. So if we're going to be in a situation in which, again, we're going to have to move the ball on a consistent measure and Flacco's your quarterback and you're not able to get those extra rushing attempts from a quarterback, from the quarterback position, and it becomes a little bit more of a pass heavy script, which it should be, Downs should be implicated for a lot more upside. And at this point, in my opinion, probably getting himself upwards of 6 receptions within the upcoming matchup. So I'd lean in that direction. If you wanted to play Dobbs, you certainly can. It certainly is going to rely upon, finding that touchdown upside, because otherwise target opportunity may be shy of his direction, mainly because of all the other, alternative opportunity, pieces within the offense. Thank you. All right, we had a question that came in from Youngberg Ford, who says, in a full PPR 6 point per passing touchdown, Barkley, Jacobs, JJ, and Spears are starting. I need one between London, Debo, and Garrett Wilson. Of those 3 available options, I'd play Debo Samuel there. Next question says, I'm torn and Z Franklin or Eric Kendricks at linebacker. Help. I don't play IDP leagues. So look, I know that Zaire Franklin, if I'm not mistaken, leads the league in terms of total tackles. So I'd probably just lean in the direction of just going Zaire Franklin there of the Colts. So I don't play IDP though. So I'm just really just shooting from the hip at that point. Thank you. Griffin Hebert sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, London or Jerome Ford? I'd go with London there. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Chalupa Batman sends in a question. That is a good reference, by the way. Chalupa Batman from the league. Atta baby. Says, half PPR flex, Ford or Downs? Let me see where I have Ford in comparison really quickly. I believe I have them relatively close. Yeah, as of right now, I have Downs 1, 2, 3 spots ahead of Ford. But Downs is my current suggestion between the two. If you wanted to just play Ford there, I don't have an issue with it. Again, they are both in the same tier and both very closely ranked based on projection and a half PPR. Thank you. But Downs is my current suggestion. Andy McGee sends in a question. Andy, let me just see if you typed in the live chat recently. If you did, I can answer that right away. If you have not, then I will. Okay, there it is. Andy McGee says, in a full PPR, I have to start 2 out of 3. Who would you start? Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, and Adam Thielen. If I was in your position, I would legitimately start Adam Thielen number 1 and Devontae Smith number 2. I'd bench Tyreek Hill this week. I do not trust him with Tyler Huntley outright. Thank you. Alrighty, Andy McGee. Appreciate it, brother. Okay, we took care of that. We move on to the next question that comes in from. After that, we have Diabolox. We're just going to call you Locks. Says, context, full PPR, pick 1, Downs, McMillan, or Reed. I'd play Downs there. Thank you. Alex sends in a question. Says, worried about Hill. Is there a world where you would play Coker or MVS over him? Probably not. Look, the issue with Coker and MVS, I think there's so much variable risk between those two that if we're just talking about like a deep ball leading to a touchdown, I think Tyreek Hill just has, quite frankly, just as much potential for upside in comparison to a Coker or MVS. So if I was going to comparatively just go with one of those, at that point, I would just play the more elite talent player in the frame of Tyreek Hill rather than just relying on Rattler or Bryce Young looking in the direction of Coker. Xavier Legette is expected to play this week. David Moore got just as much reception opportunity as Coker last week. So I think as of right now, I would just play Tyreek Hill there. I don't think there's a reality in which I would play the alternative options considering their circumstances. Thank you. Atif Khan sends in a question. Says start 3. Neighbors, Achane, AJ Brown, and Spears. Okay, if I was going to start 3 of these available options, I believe my odd man out is going to be Achane. I'd rather play everybody else, really. Neighbors, AJ Brown, and Spears would be the 3 guys that I play. If we're playing in a standard scoring format, at that point I could justify going Spears, AJ Brown, and Achane, but only in that kind of a circumstance am I willing to play Achane over Neighbors. Let me see my half PPR as it currently stands. Yeah, even in a half PPR, I would take Neighbors over Achane as it currently stands. Thank you. Christopher sends in a question, says Kittle or Jameson Williams. I prefer to play Kittle there. Bryce Young or Mason Rudolph at quarterback. I would currently prefer to play Bryce Young, if I'm not mistaken. The rankings, again, are on screen in regards to that. So as it currently stands, I have Bryce Young 1 spot ahead of Mason Rudolph. Thank you. Again, both are going to be in weather situations anyway. So as of right now, Bryce Young's rushing upside certainly does help him in that scenario. Thank you. Mo, did you have any other questions besides the Tyreek Hill question? I know that you typed in a couple. It says, why is he ranked so low? Also, I have Shakir. Who do I roll with? I would suggest you play Shakir there. I got screwed with Lamb and DK Metcalf. He'll not get volume, but a touchdown, and Shakir might get a volume, but 30 yards. Yeah, look, as of right now, if I was in your position, I would just play Shakir. I think as an offense, I think it's safer to bet on the offense of the Bills being a little bit more highly implicated to score touchdowns or get more red zone opportunities in comparison to what the Dolphins offense will present to you within the given week. So as it currently stands, I would just play Shakir there. I'm not going to really worry about trying to roll with the potential of Tyreek Hill. Now, I do agree. He certainly does have the potential of a touchdown additionally, but based on what we have seen from Tyler Huntley this season, it's not as promising as we'd like it to be. So I just lean towards Shakir. Thank you. Johnny Moss sends in a question. Thank you, Johnny. Says in a full PPR, I need 2 between Garendo, McMillan, and Achane. Cool. Of those available, let me see where I have McMillan in comparison to Garendo, and I will continue here. So as it currently stands, I have Garendo and Achane as my 2 highest ranked of the 3. So I play both running backs there, Johnny. Thank you. Shane sends in a question. Says Tracy/Garendo PPR. Can you explain the upside for each? Yeah, look, this is the... So what Tracy provides, purely, from my thought process as it currently stands, is that from what we have seen with Drew Lock over the course of the last couple weeks, the offense has been a little bit more capable of scoring touchdowns, which certainly is promising, but the receiving upside that Tracy's capable of accomplishing with Drew Lock is really promising. So if I'm going to lean in the direction of one of these 2 in a full PPR, considering both are most likely going to be in negative game scripts, obviously their rushing opportunities are going to be kind of limited because of the fact that they're probably trying to play catch up in comparison to the teams that they're facing. I would say that Tracy's probably more implicated for a receiving workload. And additionally, like we talked about earlier this week, there's been one touchdown scored from the Giants backfield, whether it's been Singletary or Tracy, in each of the last 6 games. So if we're going to be in a situation where at least we get 1 touchdown, Tracy's probably the highest implicated for that within this offense. It's a pretty good position in comparison to what Garendo has with all the target opportunity and competition, and additionally Deebo Samuel chipping away at his upside, along with the rushing upside theoretically of Purdy. Thank you. Ashley sends in a question, says pick 3, full PPR. I went against Burrow and T. Higgins stack. That's rough. That is absolutely rough. And I need a prayer. We have Terry McLaurin, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Achane, BTJ, and Bucky Irving. Okay, if I was in your situation, I would start Bijan, Bucky, and BTJ. Those are my 3. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. We had a question that came in from Gatling Gun. Gatling, thank you very much. Let me see if I can find your question in the live chat right now. Until then, Daniel Gonzalez says, hi, go. Full PPR, pick 2, Achane, Spears, Downs, Ford. As it currently stands, I currently have Spears and Downs as my 2 highest ranked. I think sitting Achane definitely does not make me feel great, but I just don't know if I can trust it outright, to be honest. Gatling Gun sends in a question, says standard, Thielen or Downs? I'd rather play Downs as it currently stands. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, the issue with Achane is the lack of receptions really leaves him vulnerable. Because outside of this most recent game against the 49ers defense, who don't have a good run stop defense, his rushing upside was, is just negligible. It really was not enough to where we can hang our hat on it. So if that is going to be what we have to rely upon today, it's not a great sign. Continuing on, we had a question that came in from Edwin Antonio, who says, Garrett Wilson, Josh Downs, Tyreek Hill, Isaac Guerrero. I'm scrambling. I'd play Downs there. Thank you, sir. Caden sends in a question, says, Okonkwo over Kraft considering the weather. If you wanted to just avoid the weather outright, I don't mind playing Kraft there. That's fine by me. Again, I'm still keeping an open mind as to what the situation is going to be. Obviously, the projection of what the weather could look like in Jacksonville obviously is kind of leaning us in the direction of being a little bit safer with it and going towards someone like Kraft, but I want to see it prior to making that 100% designation. For right now, I want to play Okonkwo because the opportunity share that he'll be exposed to is significantly more than I would say that I say his targets today, if we have no weather problems, I mean, it probably should look like 8 to 10 targets. Which again, in comparison to many of other tight ends, it is very difficult to compete with that kind of a number. So we'll kind of keep an eye on it. If it is going to be a problem, then we'll pivot away. Sean Coburn sends in a question. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, brother. Let me see if I can find your question in the live chat right now. Let's go to live chat. Let's look up Sean Coburn. Sean says, HN or Bigsby in a full PPR? Thanks. As of right now, I could justify playing Bigsby there. I still have HN ranked higher. I still think that the running game of HN in comparison to Bigsby and his split with ETN, I think it's still more favorable to play HN in that circumstance. Thank you. All right, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Chris, who says in a full PPR, start one, HN, Ford, or Pittman? Thanks. Okay, between the three of them, I have HN ranked the highest. Ford will be second, Pittman will be third. Pittman I don't really trust much because even with Joe Flacco earlier this season, didn't perform up to his overall potential. So it's really just an HN versus Ford conversation. Right now, I'd go towards HN there. Thank you. Fight On sends in a question, says full PPR, Laporta or Okonkwo, Buccaneers or Eagles? I would prefer the Eagles and Laporta. Thank you. Carlos Bruno sends in a question, says pick 3 in a PPR, Adams, Evans, HN, AJ Brown. I will play all 3 receivers in a PPR. Give me Adams, Evans, and AJ Brown. Thank you, Carlos. Appreciate it, brother. MTD_ says Neighbors or Cook, full PPR. Let me see where I have Cook comparatively, and I'll tell you right now. Cook's a little bit sketcy because, again, that game could get out of hand and he could just disappear. So, as it stands, how do we want to go about this? They're ranked back-to-back. Says just faced Higgins and Trey McBride. Oof. So we need like ultimate upside, huh? Okay, if you were theoretically going to go for the ultimate upside, considering that circumstance, I think you have to play Cook. And you have to hope he scores 2 touchdowns. Which again, if you were going to rely upon anybody at the running back position to do so today, I think that's a pretty good bet in terms of potential, considering he leads all running backs with 14 rushing touchdowns. I think total touchdowns, he has like 16 this season. So if you were going to hang your hat on a running back to kind of give you that upside that you require, considering you just took on the buzzsaw of Higgins and Trey McBride last night, Cook is probably the suggestion in which I would go with there. MTD, thank you. Brandon McLaughlin sends in a question. Says full PPR, Jalen McMillan or Jameson Williams. Let me see where I have them ranked. I believe, as it stands, yeah, they're back-to-back within my rankings. If you wanted to avoid all weather concerns in this Tampa Bay game, you would play Jameson Williams. Otherwise, if prior to the game beginning, if the weather looks like it's solidified enough to where we're not going to have a horrible situation to where they're ditching the passing game, it's not a heavy, downpour of rain, I would suggest you play McMillan there. I think his overall opportunity share in this touchdown upside that he's been privy to as of late is very valuable, and I don't want to pass up on it in comparison to JMO. But again, if the weather is going to be a problem, then we'll pivot away. Again, luckily in your situation, you can wait up into the minute of this game for Tampa Bay this morning and decide as to whether or not you're pivoting to tomorrow's game for Jameson Williams, which again, if you're looking to try to get a glimpse of that, Twitter's probably the best way of doing so, because you could probably go find people who are at the game posting stuff and giving yourselves a little bit of a better understanding as to how it really looks at the moment. Thank you. Okay, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Chris Parker. Chris, thank you very much, sir. Same thing with you, Sam. Sam sent in a question, and so did Joel Garza. So if you guys can, hopefully type in your question again in the chat. If they've already been typed in recently, then I will try to find it right now. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome, good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully you didn't face T. Higgins and McBride last night, unlike some of us. Again, hopefully they were working in your favor in order to help you capture a 2024 Fantasy Football Championship. But either way, the rankings that are on screen as of this morning are up to date. So if you guys have any questions in regards to interpositional rankings, look to the right side of the screen. Thank you. Let's see if I can find these questions in the live chat. We begin with Chris. Chris Parker, if you can, retype in your question in the live chat when you get a chance. Thank you. Until then, let's see if I can find Sam's question. All right, Sam says in a full PPR, pick one for wide receiver and one for the flex. We have McMillan starting, Bucky at RB1. Cool. Wicks, Dobbs, Chikezimo, Conco, Spears at RB2 and 4. Cool. If I was going to play one of these, if I was going to play one of these options, a wide receiver and flex, I'd play Ford in the flex and I'd play McMillan a wide receiver. That's the way that I'd go about it. If you were worried about the McMillan weather situation, you'd pivot to playing Dobbs. But as of right now, McMillan and Ford are the two that I would go with. Sam, thank you, sir. Garza, let's see if I can find your question in the live chat. Joel Garza says, Spears or Rachaad White full PPR? Yes, I would rather play Spears over Rachaad White in the absence of Tony Pollard. Again, Tony Pollard out makes him an incredible play within the given week. Thank you. All right, let's see if I can find Chris Parker in the live chat. Maybe, perhaps. Let's see. Let's update the live chat. Don't see anything as of yet. Okay, we will come back around when that is eventually typed in. Thank you again. All righty, let's swing on by. The next question comes in from Scar Shiesty, who says, standard scoring, start two wide receivers in a flex. We have London, BTJ Neighbors, Spears, Shakir, Jacoby Myers. Cool. If I was in your position, I would suggest in a standard scoring format, I'd go with Spears, BTJ, and London. Those are the three wide receivers that in a standard scoring league where I get 0 points per reception, I'd go with Spears, BTJ, and London. Thank you. All right, Luca Martins, 99. Sends in a question. Says, I need to sit 1.5 PPR. Rachaad White, Garendo, or Myers in a half PPR. Let me see where I have Myers comparatively. I believe. Okay, You have Rachaad White, right? Yeah. As it currently stands, Luca, I would sit Jacoby Myers. Yeah, that would be my sit. I'd sit Jacoby Myers. I'd rather play Rachaad White and Isaac Garendo in a half PPR over him. Thank you very much, Luca Martins. Appreciate it. All right, Walker sends in a question. Says, I need a defense. Miami, Raiders, or the Colts. I'd suggest playing the Colts there. Should I ride the playoffs out with Goff, or do I take my chance with Rodgers or Young? I need major upside. You got to play Goff. You got to play Goff, especially against the 49ers defense. I think that Goff is by far and away the best play. I would not feel very much so confident with the idea of rolling with Rodgers. Bryce Young, I could understand if he finds incredible rushing upside, but ultimately Goff is the most consistent play and the one that you should be riding with off into the sunset. Thank you. All right, Mo K sent in a question as well. Mo, if this is a follow-up to another question, I'll be more than happy to check that out. So let me go ahead and let me travel to the live chat really quickly and see if that in fact is the case. Before I do, Chris Parker, no, nothing from there. Let's see if Mo ended up typing in any other new questions in this circumstance. Mo says, I lost Lamb, and now basically Tyreek Hill and DK flopped. Hopefully BTJ saves me, LOL. Do I play Shakir or Hill? I would play Shakir there. Also, Westbrook, Ikine, and Carolina wide receivers, got it. Not named Thielen on the waivers. Also Cooks, half PPR. Yeah, I would just play Shakir there. If I was going to play one of these available options, Shakir would be the best available play in my mind. Thank you. Appreciate it, Mo. Yeah, you're definitely in a tough situation there. It's nothing that we want to, obviously occur in week 17. But yeah, this year, more than I would say just about any year, it's purely just a matter of luck. It's not a matter of strategy. It's a matter of, did you get lucky to where your players are healthy come week 17? If you got hit with the injury bug of Connor, Lamb, Hurts, Chuba Hubbard, Kamara, I mean, again, it's not a matter of skill anymore. It's a matter of purely, did you just get lucky, and did you have the correct sequence of players that were going to be capable of winning you a championship? That's really what it is. All right, anyway, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Rich, who says, pick two in a PPR. Bigsby, Coker, Leggett. Okay, Ferguson, Ertz, Waddle, Watson, Olave. Olave is not playing. Rice, Ayuk. Okay, yeah, this is a context. Waddle, Watson, Olave, Rice, Ayuk, all out for the season for me, but I made it to the championship. Do I play Bigsby, Leggett, Coker, Ferguson, or Ertz? If I'm playing two of these available options, Bigsby has to play. And then it's either Leggett or Ferguson. Let me see where I have Leggett and Ferguson in a full PPR. I'll let you know right now. As it currently stands, I have Jake Ferguson ranked higher than Xavier Leggett. So I would play Jake Ferguson alongside of Tank Bigsby today. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. All right, let's see here. A Brew 68 sends in a question. It says full PPR, pick 3 between Achane, Garendo, Jameson Williams, and McMillan. So in a full PPR as it stands, where do I have? Yeah, as it currently stands in a full PPR format, a Brew 68, I would suggest that you play Achane, McMillan, and Jameson Williams. Those are the 3 that I would go with this week. If you were worried about the McMillan weather, then you pivot to playing Garendo. But otherwise, I would try to play him in a full PPR instead. Thank you. Nick Walker sends in a question. Says Spears or Tracy, Miami or Philly? I'd prefer Philly's defense, and I'd prefer currently playing Spears over Tracy. Thank you. Evo Ed 3 sends in a question. Evo, thank you. Appreciate it. Says PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Juwan Jennings, Ridley, Amari Cooper, Amir Abdullah, and Brian Jr. So when you say Brian Jr., I'm assuming that's not Brian Thomas Jr. I'm assuming that's Brian Robinson Jr., right? Because you know to play Brian Thomas. So in the event in which that is Brian Robinson Jr., let me just check where I have him in comparison to Ridley, and I'll let you know right now. As it currently stands, I would suggest playing Brian Robinson Jr. as your flex and Juwan Jennings as your starting wide receiver there. Evo Ed, thank you. Dylan Yother sends in a question. Says, played McBride plus McConkey stack. I did 2 yesterday. And it's a full PPR. I got literally 60 points from 2 players. So, yeah, we're in the same boat, Dylan. That was a crazy circumstance of sequence there. Anyway, so since I played both these players, in a PPR, do I play Smitty, Mooney, or Dobbs? As of right now, I'd go with Smitty as the number 1. If I was going to lean to an alternative, Mooney would be the next best, in my opinion. But I'd like to play Smitty between the bunch. Thank you. Timo sends in a question. Says, I want to bench Achane. Would you bench for Tracy Jr.? Yeah, I don't mind that. McMillan or Spears. If I was going to bench him for one of these players, it would be Spears, objectively. In the absence of Pollard, Spears becomes that much more of a viable option, like we have been demonstrated over the course of the last 2 games. Spears, in the absence of Pollard, whether it has been in the second half or for 3/4 of that game, Spears has scored 4 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, not by accident, but by volume of opportunity going in his direction, which once again should be the case this week against Jacksonville's run-stop defense, which over the course of the season has not been existent. So crazy enough, Tyjae Spears is potentially going to be a league winner today for many of us. Thank you. Jaden Fry sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, I need 2. Tracy, Debo, Brian Thomas. If I'm playing 2 of these available players, I'm going to lean towards Debo Samuel and Brian Thomas Jr. there. Thank you very much, Jaden. Appreciate it. Kevin T sends in a question. Says, full PPR, starting Tracy Jr. and the Colts defense. Do I put in the Jacksonville defense instead? I would not. I need all upside. I think the Colts defense provides that to you, brother. Thank you. Tone Bone sends in a question. Says, James Cook or Spears? As it currently stands, I have James Cook ranked higher. I don't mind the idea of playing Spears over him. I could justify it, but currently I have James Cook ranked higher. Thank you. Dazer sends in a question. Says, Browns defense, Tua, or Bills defense? As it currently stands, I do have the Browns defense now ranked over there. They're my number 7 in comparison to the Bills being my number 4. Again, the Browns defense, if they're available in your league and you don't have anybody better like the Raiders, Bills, Dolphins, Eagles, Colts, and you didn't play any of the stud defenses that have already taken place this week, which was like Kansas City, Baltimore, Seattle, the Los Angeles Chargers yesterday. If you didn't play any of those, and your best available option is picking up the Browns, I think they're a great pickup and play, but I do believe that the Bills are the better of the 2 as of today. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question that came in from Chris Parker. Okay, Chris sent in a super chat. I was waiting for you to type it into the live chat, but I do appreciate you sending in another super. Says, what's up, Andrew? I hope you had a great Christmas. Thank you very much, and have a happy New Year. Thank you, sir. Says, was just asking about underdog picks. Cool. Yeah, look, as of today, in terms of potential picks, I'll go ahead and throw it up on screen once again. As it currently stands, so the suggestions that I made the last 2 days consist of 2. Let me see here. If I go here, I go picks, I go here. Okay, so these are the 2 entries that I made in the last 2 days that I suggested via the live streams and the videos that I posted. So far, so good with this one. Terry McLaurin and Chigoziem Okonkwo implicated within this. Again, the weather might lean you away from this, but in terms of potential plays, like I have Goff implicated here, and I have Chigoziem Okonkwo and Terry McLaurin implicated here. So theoretically, you could follow these. If I was going to look towards other potential plays, ultimately, if we go to the NFL, couple plays that I would potentially keep in mind that I like today. I looked at it last night. Josh Downs, like going higher than 4.5 receptions, is something that I truly do like. If we were going to lean in the direction of potentially somebody scoring a touchdown, I would say that Saquon can do so. It's just purely a matter of whether you want to live with these 0.73s or the 0.74s. I'm not, opposed to them. I actually like rolling with those because, again, they are a little bit more stable in their own right. But additionally, it's just like it's a matter of playing the game here. Like if we're looking around at specific numbers, like I love Bucky Irving to dominate today. Like I truly do think, he leads all running backs thus far this season in yards after contact per attempt. He is an absolute machine. So I would take him at like a number like this. So again, why is Chuba Hubbard still here? Can I take him lower? The following player is inactive. Okay, so they know it. Never mind. I tried to cheat the system there. So this is kind of a setup that I like. As of right now, I'll take this. I don't mind it. Again, the multi I don't love though. Look, if it's like a 10 for 23.6, I don't love it. But yeah, as of right now, like I'll take it though. That's a decent one. All right, guys. Let me go ahead. Let me travel back to the live stream and we'll continue on answering questions. If I need to, I'll come back around and I'll make more entries over the course of today. Thank you. All right, we took care of that. We will scroll down to the next question that came in from Dr. Turbo, who says, flex Spears versus London in a full PPR. I would prefer to play Tyjae Spears there today. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. All right, after that question, let me go ahead. Let's close this link and this one, and we're good to go. I believe my YouTube's about to crash. And did it effectively do so yet? Waiting for it. Did it crash yet? There it is. Okay, so after Dr. Turbo's question, thank you again, Dr. Turbo. We had a question that comes in from Daniel, who says in a half PPR, start 2 Spears, Rachaad White, Tyrone Tracy, Jacoby Myers. If I was in your position, I would play Spears and Tyrone Tracy today. Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate it. Moving on to Jeremy Perez, who sends in a question. Says, I have 2 slots in a full PPR. Pick Spears, Achane, Tracy. I would play Spears and Achane. Thank you. Joshua Wilkins sends in a question. Says, I trusted James Conner. Yeah, that's join the club. I don't know if there are many people that sat James Conner. I don't know if there are many of us who could afford to sit James Conner in the given week. But hey, listen, join the club. Obviously, fell victim to the unfortunate scenario. He played in the first quarter and then for some reason sat on the sideline with his helmet on. I mean, in the third quarter, I was so upset. I was like, bro, just go to the locker room and change. Like, what are we doing? Like, there's nothing you need to prove. Like, if you're injured, there's no point in forcing yourself. You guys are out of playoff contention. Just go rest, and I'll see you next season. We'll draft you next year. Like, that's it. Like, I don't know what else to do. Anyway, continuing on. Let's see what your question was here, Joshua. It says, half PPR, if I have Drake London and Jordan Addison, who has more upside? If I want to play catch-up? That's a really good question. I think if you compare the two of them, technically, the higher upside should be implicated with Jordan Addison because of the weather, playing a non-factor because it's indoors. So I think Jordan Addison has a higher likelihood to reach said potential, but Drake London should be able to out-target him and probably have more receptions over the given course of this game. So if I was in your position, if we're trying to like play ultimate catch-up, I think I just play Jordan Addison and I play Reichard with it. And I play both of the guys indoors in the stadium and just let it ride. That's the way that I'd probably go about it, Joshua. Thank you. Crixie sends in a question, says, I can't decide between Young and Flacco. Who scores more? As of right now, again, it's going to be dependent on whether or not Bryce Young is able to find and actualize that rushing upside potential. Again, we talked about it yesterday, or a couple days back, in regards to the quarterback rankings video. Earlier this season, in the last, 3 of the last 4 games, Bryce Young has scored a rushing touchdown 3 of those 4 games. He's been averaging about 7.4 fantasy points per game just off of rushing statistics alone. So he's able to score himself more than or nearly 2 touchdowns worth of points just off of the rushing upside. So if you wanted to theoretically bank on that in the absence of Chuba Hubbard, then sure, you can go in that direction. I think the stable play in my mind is Flacco because of the matchup itself. Thank you. I think they're both justifiably solid options, though. As to which of the preferred, I'd go with Flacco. Thank you. All right, we continue on with the question that comes in from Rob B. Rob says, full PPR, Achane or Devontae Smith? I have Achane ranked higher still. Thank you. Football is Life sends in a question, says, curious about your thoughts. Questions in the chat. All right, let me see if I can find your question. Let's type it in really quickly. Football is Life. Let's go here. And I do not believe my YouTube's about to crash any second now. Is it going to crash? Come on, hurry up. It's not even my YouTube that's going to crash. Oh, wow. That is an interesting circumstance. It's that my browser, my Google Chrome, is just bugged whenever I live stream. I don't know why that's been the case, but it's been the case all season long. I'm sure for those of you who have been around the live stream for quite a while here, you've noticed that. Anyway, continuing on. Football is Life sends in a question. It says, LM added player to my opponent's team who couldn't be picked up because I dropped him day of game. LM says it's justified because I dropped people on game day multiple times this week. Feels like LM is in the wrong. I don't know what the heck LM is, brother. I'm going to be honest. I added players to my opponent's team who couldn't be picked up because I dropped him the day of game. It says it's justified. I see. Cool. So if I was in your... Okay, so if you want my take on the situation, Football is Life, this is my current take on that situation. If you play in leagues in which you pick up a player and then once they're dropped, they can't be picked up by somebody else, league manager. Thank you, guys. I appreciate the yeah, thank you. Clear cookies? No, it's not a cookie issue. I'll explain to you later. Anyway, so let me get to this question. So the league manager's in the right, okay? If you pick up a bunch of players, then drop them in order for your opponent not to pick them up, you're playing in the wrong kind of function of league. Like, your settings should not prevent people from picking up players because they were dropped. That should never be the case. You should only ever not be able to pick up a player if the game has started or if they've already played. That should only be the case. Otherwise, the strategy of picking up players and then dropping them to make sure that the entire waiver wire is a disaster is not actually a proper league. The way that, I mean, that is just my opinion. Again, that's my take on the matter. Pure strategy for fantasy football should be that you have to drop your whole bench in order to prevent other teams from picking up players. That's how I see it. I don't believe, or I've never even played in a league, at least in quite recent history, in which that setting was allowed. Because there's too much kind of fuckery that can be had with that, with that setting in specific. Because you could just pick up the entire waiver wire at 4 a.m. and drop it, and then your league opponent just is completely cooked. So if I was in your position, I would say that yes, it is justified that the players that they wanted to pick up, that you ended up picking up and dropping, it is justified that they get to pick them up, in my opinion. But that is the way that I see it fit. Because again, it really is just fuckery to just play the game in that specific way. But that is my thoughts. Yeah, I think that if players are available on the waiver wire, you drop them, they should be able to be picked up by your opponent immediately. Because they're free agents at that point. There shouldn't be a waiver period after that. Thank you. All right, moving on. We had a question from Andrew Mitchell who says, hey, Andrew, in a full PPR, who would you start? Tank Bigsby or Spears? I would prefer to play Tyjae Spears. Over Achane, Neighbors, Bucky, or JT. I would play Spears over Achane. That's the way that I'd go about it. Otherwise, everybody else is good to go there. Andrew Mitchell, thank you, sir. Zay sends in a question, says, please pick two. Josh Downs, Tyreek Hill, McMillan, Neighbors. Neighbors and Josh Downs are my two highest ranked of the bunch, Zay. Thank you. Cody Dean sends in a question. Thank you, Cody. Says, full PPR, Chigozimo Okonkwo or Jonnu Smith with no Tua. As of right now, currently ranked, I have Chigozimo Okonkwo ranked higher. In the event in which the weather is a disaster, we could pivot, but as of right now, Okonkwo is the preferred of the two. Says Evans or Adams. As of right now, I have Evans ranked higher. Thank you. Ghazi sends in a question, says half PPR McMillan. Sorry. Juwan Jennings, McMillan, and then it says Downs. Okay, cool. So if we're playing one of the three options, let me see here. Half PPR. Let me see where I have Downs comparatively. I know I have it on screen somewhere, but as it currently stands, Josh Downs would be the highest ranked player. So Josh Downs would be my suggestion. It says, why did McMillan rank drop? Yeah, weather. That's purely it. The rain that is implicated in in Tampa Bay, in the Carolina matchup, is the primary reason why he's dropped, effectively. Thank you. SOS Kobe sends in a question. Says, Jerome Ford or Isaac Garendo? I'd play Jerome Ford there. Thank you, sir. Moving on to a question from Gary, who says, I need one running back, one tight end, one flex. In a full PPR, we have We have Breece Hall, Rashad White, Tyjae Spears. We have Tyrone Tracy, Okonkwo, Jonnu Smith, Adam Thielen, and Jalen McMillan. Cool. Of your available options, Tyjae Spears is your RB1. Adam Thielen is your, sorry, you don't even have a wide receiver. Sorry. So if you need one running back and one flex, those are going to be Tyjae Spears and Breece Hall. In your tight end position, I would play Okonkwo. If the weather is a disaster, you could pivot to Smith, but as of right now, I'm looking to try to play Okonkwo there. So again, Spears, Hall. Actually, do I have, wait. One second, please. Hold up. Calculating. I think I actually have Thielen ahead of Breece Hall. So maybe it's not even Breece Hall in the flex. It's back-to-back, damn it. Okay. So Breece Hall, technically, I have one spot ahead of Adam Thielen in a full PPR. So Breece Hall is, in fact, still going to be that flex suggestion as of right now. So Spears, Hall, Okonkwo. Thank you, Gary. All right, we had a question from Daniel Barnes. Thank you, Daniel. And Austin M. Both of them probably sent in the live chat. So I'm going to go ahead and check that out in just a moment. Daniel Barnes, let me write down your name. And Austin M. Until then, Papayone sends in a question, says 1 point per reception. Downs, JMO, Smith, Reed. I'd play Downs there. Thank you, sir. All right, let's see if I can find Daniel Barnes in the live chat really quickly. Daniel says, thanks for all the help this season. I'm in the championship. In the flex, do I play HA, Madison, or London? As it currently stands, I have London ranked the highest of those 3 available options. Thank you. Then we move on to a question that comes in from Austin M., who says, play 2 in a full PPR, Spears, Jennings, McMillan. I'd play Spears and Jennings there. Says, I'm already starting Chikezimo Okonkwo at tight end. So I'm nervous about Spears as well. I'm having a championship ride on the Titans. Yeah, that is a tough situation, but ultimately, I think Spears is your best play. When he's been able to accomplish the last 2 weeks, additionally with the weather implication and the fact that we have a full week now where there's no Tony Pollard, it just makes him an automatic here. So even with the sketchiness of having 2 Titans, I think it is in your best interest to start both of those players because they are your 2 best as it currently stands. Thank you. Okay, Austin M sends in a question. We took care of that, and we took care of Daniel Barnes. Again, I do appreciate y'all. Thank you for sending those in. Let's go ahead and let's continue on with the next slate of questions that come in from National Champ Rush. Very generous of you. Thank you very much. Says, I'm in a must-win. I have Washington's defense, Viking defense, and Dallas. Who should I start? As it currently stands, the current iteration of my defensive rankings, Vikings and Washington are back-to-back. Technically, because the Minnesota Vikings have been so consistent over the course of this entire season, that is why I have them at 10. That's purely why I have them there. Okay? Otherwise, I would assume that the Washington Commanders defense should give Penix more problems than the Vikings should give Jordan Love problems. So ultimately, if you were going to play one of the two, if you're playing it on a weekly basis, just like, hey, I'm just trying to play this week, which again is technically how the rankings should function, I could justify playing Washington's defense there, but based on how consistent the Vikings have been, that's why they sit there. And that's why I'll continue to suggest the Vikings because of their consistency of production as, a pretty solid defense. So if you wanted to go away from them and play Washington, again, I have them back-to-back rank. I don't have that, I don't have a problem with that. But as of right now, I'd go with the Vikings defense, considering their consistency of play. And again, Penix is a little bit of an unknown factor here. He could have himself a great game. He could light up that defense. We don't know. Obviously, the running game is going to be the primary kind of offensive strategy there for the Falcons. But as it currently stands, Washington can't stop the run either, so it doesn't really matter. So I lean towards the Vikings. All right, next question says, I also have Jaden and Scary Terry playing. So should I play all those Washington players with Washington's defense or go with Dallas or the Vikings? Okay, I see. So you're basically all in on the Washington Commanders. If that's the case, yeah, again, like I said earlier, I don't mind the idea of playing the Washington defense. If you want to, because you're playing a lot of Washington players, I don't know if it justifies, do you have to play the defense? If you were sitting there and you're like, Andrew, I just want to watch, I'm going to watch the game tonight, and that's all I'm going to be rooting for, Washington across the board, then sure, we go in that direction. But again, I have Vikings one spot ahead. If you want to play Washington for that reason and the potential of them taking on Penix, I don't have an issue with it. Thank you. Brandon sends in a question. Brandon Vanek says, in a half PPR, I need 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. BTJ, AJ Brown, Lennon, and Spears. Cool. If those available, I'm playing BTJ, I'm playing AJ Brown, and I'm playing Spears. Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate it. Prosperous says, skipped my previous question. Did I really? Let me see really quickly. My apologies if that was the case. Prosperous. I did skip your earlier question. Why did I? You know what's funny? It wasn't even there though. Because I specifically remember scrolling down. Either way, that's my bad. I apologize, Prosperous. Sorry to make you wait all this time. I see your question now, and let's get to it, shall we? My bad. All right, it says I'm in the championship match in a full PPR. Okay. We have Jaden Reed or McMillan. Between the two of them, as it currently stands, I would like to play McMillan. In the event in which the weather's a disaster, you would pivot to playing Jaden Reed. You'll know that prior to the game beginning, and at that point, you can make that pivoting option if need be. Next question says, do I go for upside with Reed? I mean, ultimately, if McMillan continues his streak of touchdowns, I mean, he should be the upside player of the two. But again, if the weather's going to be an impactful negative factor, then obviously Reed could be that upside play of the two. Says, I already had Nico, Higgins, and Trey play. I have Goff. Let's see here. It says I have Abdullah / Achane. I have Amon-Ra, Reed, McMillan, Colts defense left. Worried about my running backs. I mean, as it currently stands, I'm not really too worried about your running backs. I think I'm okay with those guys, especially in a full PPR. If I was in your position, again, I would try to play McMillan in the event in which it's a terrible weather situation prior to the game starting. Pivot away from him and just play Reed. Otherwise, Colts defense is solid. So is, Amon-Ra, Goff, and Achane Abdullah solid. I have no issue with playing Abdullah there, especially considering there's been a sequence of events over the course of this entire season where consistently the RB2 for the Raiders somehow, some way always scores a touchdown and steals it from the starter. For your sake, hopefully that happens again. For my sake, when I'm starting Madison in some of these leagues, hopefully that doesn't take place. All right, Troops McGee sends in a question. All right, Chubbs, let's see where you're at, my man. Where's McGee at? Let's see here. All right, Chubbs McGee sends in a question. Says the following. Says in a PPR Superflex, is it worth flexing Thielen or Rachaad White over Debo or Achane? I don't mind the idea of playing Thielen over Achane. That I'm okay with. Outside of that, no, I'm not doing anything else. It says you suggested Flacco, but I think there is higher upside with others. Yeah, I mean, look, if you wanted to play, like let's say for example, like we talked about earlier, if in specific you wanted to play the wide receiver over Flacco, that's fine by me. But as it currently stands, yes, I'd be willing to play Thielen over Achane in a full PPR. That I'd be willing to do. Thank you. All right, we took care of that question. We move on to a question that comes in. Let me make sure I didn't skip any. I've made a mistake earlier. Okay, so we had John who sends in a question. John says in a full PPR, tight end premium, 1.5 per reception. Chickasimo Okonkwo or Alexander Madison. Ooh, wow, that is an interesting one. Let me see where I have them in a full PPR, and I will tell you right now as to how I'd go about this. As of right now, I would want to play Okonkwo. If the weather is not a problem, I would love to play Okonkwo in this scenario. Thank you. All right, let's hear it. Lily X_plays says full PPR. Brian Robinson or Spears? I'd play Spears there. Next question. Flacco or Bryce Young for the chip? As of right now, I'm leaning in the direction of Flacco. Thank you. Again, if you wanted to play Bryce Young, I don't have an issue with it. As it currently stands, I currently have them, if I'm not mistaken, back-to-back. Yeah, Flacco's my number 8 and Bryce Young's my number 9 of the remaining quarterbacks. Between the two of them, again, the way that Flacco has played over the course of the last 2 seasons as the starting quarterback, or whether it was the Browns or the Colts, has been pretty consistent. Obviously, earlier this season when he was given the string of being the starter once again, when Anthony Richardson was still healthy but tapping out of games, he played against some pretty tough matchups. I think the Giants is a far easier one in which he should be able to find success. If you wanted to just avoid all potential risk, considering he hasn't been the starter for the last couple weeks, and he just wanted to ride with the quarterback that, again, has been producing and been the starter in the mix, I don't have an issue playing Bryce Young there. They're back-to-back for a reason, but I do prefer Flacco ever so slightly. Okay, Chaos Lord 916 says no rankings, question mark? What are you talking about, Chaos? Let me see what you're talking about. Chaos, you good, brother? Oh, dude, what? Guys, I didn't even realize I'm on the wrong screen. Nobody was going to tell me? I didn't know. You'd think that after live streaming every single day for the last 4 months, that I'd know that I wasn't. I'm an idiot. I apologize, guys. For the last, how long was it? Was it 30 minutes that I've had that up there? Sorry, guys. Oh my God. You know, that's what happened. I went and I made an underdog entry and I misclicked and I went to the wrong panel. Yo, I'm an idiot. My bad, guys. I'm so sorry. You guys were probably sitting there like, what is this fucking guy doing? My bad, guys. Sorry. Chaos, thank you for letting me know. My bad. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? All right, my bad. Okay. We're back. We're back. Okay, cool. We've recovered. My bad, guys. Today's been an interesting morning, to say the least. Apologies. Okay, continuing on. We had a question that came in from Derek Just, who says, in a full PPR, pick one, Reed, Downs, or Ford. Thanks. Of those available options, Reed, Downs, Ford. I would suggest you playing Downs in a full PPR. Ford will be second, Reed will be third. Thank you. Scott sends in a question, says, I want to roll with Aubrey. You sure Dallas can't score? I mean, I'm not 100% certain of it, but I think it'd be pretty difficult for them to score in the absence of someone like CeeDee Lamb. Again, the Philadelphia defense has been elite all season long. When you have Cooper Rush and your best receiver is Brandon Cooks, are we really going to be able to move the ball against that defense, especially considering how great they are at stopping the run? I think it becomes a very difficult situation. So ultimately, if you want to play Aubrey, you're going to have to hope that he's kicking 60-yarders, which again, if you're going to find any kicker that is capable of doing so, he's the guy. So I don't mind the idea of throwing him out there in the event in which, again, you want to ride him until the very end, considering he has been your savior. Obviously, certainly capable of that 10-plus margin just with 2 field goals. Football is Life sends in a question. Says, follow up in the chat. Totally get it if I'm an idiot. Yeah, let me just see what your question is, Football is Life. Man, I can't believe I was full screen. I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. That was rough. Says, long days of working. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm mentally cooked. Tyjae Spears or Aaron Jones? Okay, that's a really good question. Look, as of right now, I could justify playing Tyjae Spears there. I don't think I will, though. I have Aaron Jones 1 spot ahead of Spears in a full PPR, in a half PPR. I believe it's the same. Yeah. I have Aaron Jones 1 spot ahead of him. I'll just go with the consistency of what Aaron Jones has presented over the course of the season. If you wanted to play Spears, I don't think it's a crazy decision. I just think that it's not one that I would suggest for you to make at this current juncture. Thank you. I'll take the Aaron Jones revenge game. That's what I'm leaning towards. All right, we took care of that question. We move on to Dom, who says, Dom R says, I need a flex and a tight end between Neighbors, James Cook, Tyjae Spears, Hawkinson, Laporta, and Okonkwo. Your tight end is Laporta. Your flex is James Cook. Thank you. Anthony Campos says full PPR, Bryce or Flacco? Yeah, good. Again, I'm going to keep going back and forth on this, but Flacco is my current suggestion. If you wanted to outright avoid Flacco, primarily, guys, because Bryce Young has been the starter for the last 8 consecutive games here, while Flacco is only just getting back into the mix. If you wanted to play it off of that alone, I wouldn't mind just playing Bryce because of the recency bias of him having the production, him having the consistency and the rapport built with the offense. And it's not really a reacclimation process in comparison to what Flacco will have to face. I get it. I just think that Flacco, I mean, if we're leaning on someone to have that 2 touchdowns, 200 yards, I really do think that Flacco is the guy for that. Buffalo's defense or Jacksonville? I prefer Buffalo there, Anthony Campos. Thank you. National Championship Rush says, I didn't hear the last part of your question. Dallas defense. Okay, let me go back up to your question. So the second half of the question was Washington or the Vikings defense. That was pretty much it. I'm not playing Dallas's defense in any circumstance today. So between Washington and Vikings, if you wanted to just start Washington's defense because you're purely rooting for Jaden Daniels, Scary Terry, and that offense, sure, go for it. But otherwise, I would suggest you play the Vikings. Thank you. All right, we move on to Chris Montoya, who says Eagles or Miami defense. Lamb is out. Yeah, I'd much rather play the Eagles. Again, sorry about that. The rankings are on screen now again. It wasn't earlier, and I kept saying, like, guys, it's on the screen, and I'm not even... Anyway, we play the Eagles defense there. That's my suggestion. Thank you. Solomon Reyes sends in a question. Says Mooney or McMillan PPR? I need upside. I think that McMillan provides that to you. Thank you. Demond Smith sends in a question. Says full PPR, pick 2. Adam Thielen, Julian McMillan? You mean Jalen McMillan? Yeah, it's just an autocorrect. You're good, brother. And Josh Downs, appreciate the help this season. Yeah, if I'm going to play 2 of these options, I'm playing Thielen and Downs. Thank you, Demond Smith. Appreciate it, brother. GB sends in a question. Says Mayfield or Allen? I'd much rather play Josh Allen. Hawkinson or Kraft? I'd much rather play Kraft. Thank you. Tristan Ewing sends in a question. Says, Andrew, you sold me yesterday with the advice to start Connor over Spears, but it's all good. Yeah, look, I didn't know that Spears was going to be a starter outright in comparison to Pollard. That's purely it. And I didn't expect for Connor to re-injure his knee. I thought, hey, listen, if he's going to practice all week, he should be fine. But yeah, I mean, it is an unfortunate situation. Well, look, here's the thing. I sold you on the idea of playing Connor over Spears, but prior to the game, I don't want to say, okay, I'm not going to say it. Look, here's the thing. Prior to the game, the readjustment of the rankings, knowing that Pollard was out prior to the Arizona game, would have prompted Spears to be higher ranked than Connor, just like he is right now, right next to Aaron Jones. But anyway, we're not getting to the weeds. Continuing on. Says, still got Jefferson, Achane, and Goff still to play. I already had Chase, Seahawks, McConkey, and Kelsey to play. Yeah, as of right now, Achane. I'd play Spears over Achane at this point, brother. That's where I'm at. Thank you, Tristan. So yeah, I'd play Spears over Achane. That's kind of the direction I'd lean in. Tristan, thank you. GB sends in a question. Says, full PPR pick 3, Thielen, Devontae Smith, Downs, Myers, Addison. Of those available options, Downs, Thielen, and Addison are your 3 highest ranked. Thank you. Iceberg wants a bag. Sends in a question. Says, start 2 in a full PPR. James Cook, Achane, Spears. Give me James Cook and Spears. Thank you. Henry Pena sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR pick 2, Thielen, Madison, Garendo, and AJ Brown. AJ Brown and I believe, let me see who I have ranked higher, Thielen or Madison. I currently have it as Thielen. So as it currently stands, I would go with the AJ Brown and Thielen combo. Thank you. Do I have Garendo ranked higher then? No. So Thielen and AJ Brown will be my suggestion there. Thank you. All right, let's see. Choobs McGee, did you have another follow-up question? Let me see if you did in the live chat. Chubbs McGee, where you at, brother? I think we took care of your question earlier. Let me just confirm this. I don't see anything in live chat. So I'm going to assume that we took care of everything. If you had another question, Chubbs McGee, type it in live chat when you get a chance. Thank you, brother. Okay, so let's continue on. We had a question that came in from Steven Dutz, who says, in a half PPR, Ridley, Myers, Dowdle, no rankings on the screen. Yeah, apologies about that. Sorry. As of right now, of the available, I believe I have Ridley ranked the highest. That's the direction that I would go with. Thank you. Papayon sends in a question, says, Garendo or Debo? I would play Debo there in a full PPR. Thank you, sir. Okay, we took care of that. We're good to go. Slowly but surely catching up, and we're good to go in that situation. All right, National Champ Rush sends in a question. Says, I just checked my league. Jacksonville is available. Should I start them over Minnesota and Washington? Yes, I would. Absolutely, without a doubt in my mind. Thank you. Okay. Where are we at? We're good to go. We're good to go. Perfect. Okay. Chris sends in a question. Chris Vela says, do you still have like Miami's defense even with Tua out? Yes, I do. I mean, am I still going to play them over Indianapolis and Philly? No, but I would play them over the alternatives of like Buffalo, the Las Vegas Raiders, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Tampa Bay. I would still prefer them over those alternatives because DTR is not going to be a good enough quarterback in my mind to produce enough fantasy upside to where the turnovers aren't going to exist. They certainly still will. Thank you. Okay, good to go there. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, the rankings are now on screen. For some reason, I had a brain fart and they weren't on screen for the longest time there. So hopefully you can go ahead and check out the rankings on screen to, kind of lead you in the direction as to which I would, kind of lead you towards if you had an interpositional ranking question regarding top 36 running backs, other remaining players, wide receivers, quarterback, tight end, kicker, and defense. Thank you. Somebody asked Rashad White or Isaac Garendo. As it currently stands, it depends on format. If we're talking about like a full PPR, I don't mind going Rashad White there, but as of right now, in a half PPR standard, I'd probably just play Garendo. I think it's just more rushing touchdown upside theoretically within the conversation. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from It's Just BT, who says, no question this week. Just wanted to say thank you for all the help this season and see you next year. Thank you very much, Just BT. Appreciate that, brother. Leo Gamez sends in a question. Says, I had a rough championship with Connor, Mixon, and Schultz. However, this is my first fantasy season. Thank you for everything. No problem. Glad to hear that, of course, you were able to get to the championship. Unfortunate reality of the situation. Your running back's falling apart at the very end, physically and game plan-wise. I mean, the Mixon and the Texans, man, they're going to be such a... Whichever wild card team is taking on the Houston Texans are so lucky. I'm assuming it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers need it too. They're on a 3-game loss streak in the last 11 days. Like, they're going to need it. So... Unless, of course, the Chargers want to go and try to, surpass them within the rankings, which I don't think that's going to potentially be possible, but it could be. Anyway, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Demontre McNair, who says, McMillan, Downs, Ford, full PPR, sit 1. If I'm sitting 1, I'm sitting McMillan. Thank you. The Mr. NYM sends in a question. Says, A.J. Brown or Spears, full PPR. I currently have A.J. Brown ranked higher. If you wanted to play Spears, I could justify it, but as it currently stands, with the full PPR format, it's hard for me not to play A.J. Brown there. Thank you. Chris B, the RD, says in a question, says, full PPR, Garendo or Tyreek Hill in the flex, full PPR. I would rather play Garendo there. Also, do I play Kendre Miller or Blackshear? As it currently stands, let me see where I have them ranked. I think I have Kendre Miller slightly ahead of him. Mainly because I just do not trust that Blackshear is going to get himself enough opportunity. I think it'll be a two-headed monster with him and Mike Boone. Let me see where I have them in a full PPR comparatively. Yeah, I have them back-to-back. I have Kendre at 22 and Blackshear 23 in a full PPR. I'm still going to lean towards Kendre there. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We had a question that came in from JD who says, in a half PPR, I need one flex between Rachaad White, McMillan, and Downs. If I'm playing one of these flex options, let me see where I have Downs comparatively in comparison to someone like Rachaad White. Yeah, I have Downs ranked higher. So, Rachaad White could be the more valuable prospect in the event in which he's given upwards of 10-plus rushing attempts because of the Carolina matchup. But considering Bucky Irving is probably going to be the workhorse back over the course of today's game, it will lead to Rachaad White probably getting less touches, effectively because if he's also fumbled the ball a couple times the last couple games, probably gets punished for that. As of right now, between Downs and McMillan, the overall opportunity share of receptions, I think, is in the favor of Downs, considering Flacco's contribution. McMillan, a little bit more of a weather-implicated game that could negatively impact him. So if I was going to suggest two of these players, it would be Downs or Rachaad White. Of the two, I'd prefer to play Downs as it currently stands because of the contributions that he's had with Flacco earlier this season. Again, in the most recent games in which he has played with Flacco, let me go and pull up these stats just so we're all on the same page for those of you who want the context to it. So Flacco this season played in week 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10. So let's go pull up these stats really quickly for the one and only Josh Downs. 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. Let's go look up Downs. So in the case of like a full PPR, 4, 5, 6, 22.2, 15.9, 19.5, and then 9, 10, 12.0, 14.2. So not a single time this season in a full PPR with Joe Flacco at starting quarterback has he put up less than 12 fantasy points. So he is the stable play of the bunch. Thank you. And he has also high upside. Can I be great? Sends in a question. Says full PPR, Achane, Cook, BTJ, or Bucky Irving in the flex. Pick two. As of right now, if I'm playing two in the flex, I'm playing BTJ and I'm playing Bucky Irving. If you were trying to avoid the weather of BTJ, you could and just play Cook and Bucky and just roll with that. But as of right now, assuming the weather's not an absolute disaster, BTJ and Bucky are your two best plays. Thank you, Ken. I'd be great. Appreciate it. Young Berg sends in a follow-up. Says, you missed my question earlier. I'm pretty sure I answered it, but we will go back and answer it anyway. Because I do remember mentioning your name clearly. So perhaps you got hit with a ad earlier. That's most likely the case. Anyway, let's go back and let's answer your question. Yes, I do even remember answering your question because I talked about how I don't play in an IDP league, and I'm just going to shoot off the hip and tell you to play Zaire Franklin. Anyway, continuing on. Your question earlier when I answered it. 6 point per passing touchdown. You said Barkley, Jacobs, JJ, and Spears are starting. I need one between you need one between London, Debo, and Garrett Wilson. My suggestion earlier was Debo Samuel. And in between Kendricks and Franklin, I suggested you play Franklin because I mentioned earlier, I believe Franklin leads the league in terms of total tackles. In an IDP league, I'd assume that it has to count for something. Outside of that, I don't really play in IDP leagues. Thank you. Sorry about that, Youngberg. I'm assuming you didn't hear that earlier. Okay, we took care of that. We move on to the next question that comes in from Michael Cantu, who says, pick one, PPR, Tracy, was that Laporta or Garrett Wilson? Let me see where I have Tracy in comparison to Laporta. As it currently stands, I would suggest playing Tracy there. He's one spot ahead of Laporta in a full PPR. one spot. But Tracy's my my priority there. Thank you. National Champ Rush says, all right. So available defenses are Cleveland, Tennessee, Jacksonville, or do I go with Minnesota? Ooh, okay. So you got some pretty good opportunities there to have some pretty good defensive play. If I was going to suggest one, I would play Cleveland's defense legitimately. Thank you. Sam Adams sends in a question. Thank you very much, Sam. I appreciate it. Let's see. Sam Adams says, appreciate everything to you, my man. Two things. Achane or Garendo. I'd prefer to play Achane there still. Also, what do you think about Jaden Reed over Garrett Wilson because of weather in Buffalo? Yeah, I don't have an issue with that at all. That's perfectly fine by me. Yeah, that would be the two that I'd go with. I have to play Achane there still in comparison to Garendo. Even without Tua, I'd still feel that I have to commit to the Achane play in this circumstance. Thank you. Appreciate it, Sam. All right, we've taken care of that. We move on to the next question that comes in from Pedro Martin. Pedro, thank you very much, sir. Let's see if I can find your question in the live chat because there was nothing originally attached. Says, I need one running back spot and one flex. We have Dowdle, Ford, and Thielen. Cool. If I was suggesting two players, I'd suggest Ford and Thielen. Thank you. Appreciate it. Continuing on, we had a question that came in from Tony, HTX101. Says, greetings and salutations. In a full PPR pick 2, London, McMillan, and Downs. I would suggest you play London and Downs there. Thank you, sir. All right. Zombeat sends in a question. Says, Reed or Dowdle PPR? I would rather play Jaden Reed. Thank you. Ivan the Terrible sends in a question. Says, full PPR. Achane, Tracy, Addison, or Spears? If I'm playing one of these players, I'm playing Spears. Oh, sorry. You need two running backs and one flex. Got it. So in this scenario, I would suggest you play Spears, Achane, and Addison. Those are the three that I would play there, Ivan. And in follow-up question says, Kincaid or Chigoziem Okonkwo? I would play Okonkwo there. Thank you. Next question begins with Kevin the Credit Guy, who says, Pickett or Rudolph? I currently have Rudolph ranked higher. If you were trying to avoid the weather situation of that game, assuming it's going to be a problem, again, I don't know whether or not it is going to be, but let's say in fact it was, then you pivot to Pickett. But as it currently stands, I'm trying to play Rudolph there, as I believe he is the better option of the two. Says, I have AJ Brown and my opponent has Smith. Okay, so I mean, look, again, I'm trying to play the better of the two quarterbacks. The weather is certainly going to be the determining factor as to whether or not one is going to be better than the other, theoretically speaking. So let me go and let me see if I can get a glimpse at the stadium as it currently stands there. If I go to Titans at Jaguars, let me go to Twitter real quick. Let's see if I can find. I mean, look, it's still early. Like I'm watching a clip from 2 minutes ago on the field. Like I don't even see clouds, guys. Like again. Please wait until like 10 minutes before the game to make these final decisions. I'm looking at live footage from the field. I know we still have an hour 15 prior to the game, but it does not look like it's going to even fucking rain over there. This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if it's fear mongering or whether the storm is a brewing and is ready to come in, but it doesn't even look like it's going to rain. Again, it's a little bit of overcast, sure, but it's not enough to scare me. Because, yeah, I'm watching them warm up on the field as of literally 2 minutes ago, and it doesn't look like it's rough. So, again, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll swing back around in about an hour, and we'll see how it looks. Maybe if it's raining by that point, we can pivot off. Thank you. Jared sends in a question. Thank you, Jared. Says, Devontae Smith or Jalen McMillan in a PPR. I have Mike Evans. I would play both of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers receivers if I was in your position. Thank you. Youngberg sends in a question. Says, Bryce Young, Joe Flacco, or Jordan Love? I would play Jordan Love out of the three. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. All right, let's see here. Brad Russ says, what's up with Jonnu Smith? What do you mean? What happened? Did he get injured? Or do you mean like why does his ranking drop? Tua is not going to play, so inherently his value is going to be a lesser version of himself based on, lack of opportunity share most likely, even with Waddle out. Now, this is what I will say. In the last couple games in which we saw Jonnu Smith play with, Tyler Huntley earlier this season, there were some promising kind of performances there with the combination of the two. So specifically, the last couple games in which we did see Tyler Huntley play was in week 4, 5, and 7. In those games, Jonnu Smith in a full PPR put up in week 4 had 1 target for 0 points, but weeks 5 and 7 had 11.1 fantasy points and 22.6 fantasy points. 8 targets in one game and 7 in the other. So again, if he's going to get himself, the lead opportunity share, Jonnu Smith should be the most valuable of the group. Again, I'm still sketched out by Tyler Huntley because, again, I don't think he's a great quarterback for the purposes of that offense because of how the offensive line just does not play well. So I don't really trust it. But in comparison to the other tight ends, he's still ahead of a vast majority of them. All right, let's see here. Alfredo sends in a question. Says full PPR for the flex, Downs or Tracy? As it currently stands between Downs and Tracy in a full PPR, I would much rather play Downs. Florian Funk sends in a question. Says Breece Hall, HN, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra, pick 2. If I'm playing 2 of these options, I'm playing Amon-Ra and I'm playing AJ Brown. Both of my top tier receivers are in my lineup. Thank you. Let's see here. Benny Stu 35 in the chat says, I need to start one Vikings or Raiders defense. I'd prefer to play the Raiders there. Again, when I have an opportunity of my defense taking on Spencer Rattler, I'm going to take advantage of that rather than having to take my defense against, Jordan Love. VJ Hicks in the chat says, defensive question, Miami or Philly? Was all in on Miami, but I worry about Tua defense. Yeah, I agree. I would play Philadelphia's defense there as of this week. Thank you. Again, the rankings have, I will say, from earlier this week to Wednesday's rankings, Thursday's rankings, a lot of variable changes have been made. Obviously, a lot of the players that have already played are not included within the rankings on screen. Literally none of them are available because, again, they've already played, so there's no reason to include them here. But when we're talking about defense, as soon as they named that CeeDee Lamb was going to be out this week, I was all in on the Eagles defense because truly, I don't expect for that offense to be able to find as much upside as they typically would, because if you don't have that elite blue chip wide receiver on the outside, guys like Quinyon Mitchell, guys like Cooper DeJean, Darius Slay, they're going to be able to take advantage of a Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, who's injured, Kevontae Turpin. These are not elite wide receivers. So really, if Ferguson and Rico Dowdle can get the job done, sure. But that run stop defense and their coverage against tight ends has also been really sharp this season. So I think that Eagles defense is a great play. Okay, let's see here. We took care of that. Spears or Debo? George, let me see where I have them ranked. I think it depends on format, but let me just confirm. Let's see where I have Debo. As it currently stands, I think in both scenarios, I would play Spears if it was my team. Currently on my projections for full PPR, I have Debo slightly higher than Spears, but I'm not even going to suggest it there. I'm going to make the audible, and I would just tell you to play Spears in both scenarios. Thank you. Let's see here. Kevin Yang says Spears or Cook. I would much rather still play Cook there. Again, when we're talking about the running back that leads the league in terms of rushing touchdowns, it's kind of hard to go away from him in this scenario. Trojan 3659 says, I'm contemplating sitting James Cook. Help. I mean, what's your alternative, brother? That's the question. Let me see if you have anything in the chat that you typed in earlier. Trojan. I don't see anything else, Trojan. If you have context to that statement, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Jeff Berkowitz sends in a question. Says full PPR. Flex. Dowdle. Josh Downs, Brian Robinson Jr. In a full PPR, my highest ranked of the 3 would be Josh Downs. Thank you. Moving on to Gatling Gun, who has a follow-up. Says pick one in a standard, Thielen, Downs, or Reed. In a standard scoring format, it becomes very sketchy between the 3 of them. I legitimately do think it becomes sketchy. But if I was going to trust one of the 3, I'm still leaning in the direction of playing Josh Downs there. Thank you. All right, let's take care of this. Let's take care of that. Again, for those of you who are joining us this morning, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Merry Fantasy Sunday. Again, the rankings are on screen now, finally again. Hopefully you guys can look at them in order to kind of determine which way we're going about some of these interpositional rankings. So as of right now, that's the direction we're leaning in. If there's audibles to be made prior to the game because of the weather circumstances, we will make those. Otherwise, again, the context of today's game or today's rankings, again, keep in mind Tua Tagovailoa expected not to play. Anthony Richardson expected not to play. The decrease of rankings for guys like Achane, Tyreek Hill effectively taking place. Oh, Jonnu Smith as well. While with the addition of Flacco for the Colts offense, the acceleration of guys like Josh Downs moving up into the top tier conversation of wide receiver. Thank you. All right. Let's see here. We had a question from Zombie. Sends in a follow-up. Says, thank you for the season, Andrew. Merry Christmas. Thank you very much, brother. Appreciate that. All right. Donald Smith says, damn, I'm in the battle versus my uncle for $500 in the championship trophy. All right. What's your question, Donald? There's your context, but what's your question? It says Jennings, Malik Neighbors, Tracy, or Ford. If I was in your position, I'm playing Malik Neighbors in a full PPR, brother. Otherwise, Jennings is your next best play. Spears or Adams, says Kevin Yang. Spears or Adams, that's an interesting one. I believe if it's a full PPR, I'm playing Adams there. Yeah, I'm playing Adams as it currently stands. Thank you. All right, Crispy Chris sends in a question. Says, quarterback 1, Joe Flacco or Mason Rudolph? I'd much rather play Joe Flacco there. question for the tight end one, Laporta or Jonnu? I'd put Laporta. Thank you. Cooper Kaczynski sends in a question. Cooper, that's a cool last name. Let's see what you have here, brother. Cooper, if you can do me a favor, type in your question in the live chat. That'd be appreciated because I do not see it in the live chat as it currently stands, brother. Thank you. Until then, Nick Mata sends in a question. Says, I have a lead and I'm in a 65% favorite chance. Okay. Says Downs or Debo? Oh, that's a really good question. Oof. Let's see here. Do I want to play Downs or I want to play Debo? Okay. I believe you. Okay. So this is what I'll say. In a half PPR, I prefer to play Debo. In a standard league, 0 points per reception, I prefer to play Debo because of the receiving total in terms of yardage, the rushing attempts, and the touchdown upside. I'd even go as far as even saying, like, even in a full PPR, I currently have Downs slightly projected ahead. If I was in your position, I'd just play Debo across the board. I wouldn't even take the risk. I'd play Debo tomorrow, and that's the way that I'd go about it. I think he is your best play as of right now. Continuing on, we had a question from Andrew, who says, full PPR, Brandon Cooks, Jerry Jeudy. I'd prefer to play Brandon Cooks there. Again, I don't trust Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Even though there are going to be some circumstances over the course of this week in which maybe we have to play Jerry Jeudy there, even in the absence of David Njoku and Cedric Tillman, I don't believe that, DTR is a capable enough quarterback to be able to suffice in this situation. So Brandon Cooks is my suggestion there. As for your next question, Goff or Love, I prefer to play Goff there. Thank you. All right, let me see if Cooper K had sent in a question. Cooper, you could have just typed it in the live chat. It says BTJ in the rain or Breece Hall in the flex. As of right now, when I look at the game, again, when I went to Twitter, okay, so this is how I figure out prior to the game what the live look is, because I don't have like a correspondent on the field, calling into the show saying, hey guys, like this is what it looks like. I literally go to Twitter and I type in the two team names. So specifically, let's say, for example, in the case of Titans versus Jaguars, I type in Titans at Jaguars. Okay. When I type it into the Twitter search bar, okay, there's a pre-existing suggested question that is like sponsored by NFL. It says Titans at Jaguars. You click on that and it'll take you to the top commentary and latest kind of tweets and or videos. Specifically, I look at the videos and I look at the pictures that people are sending in there. The weather looks clear, guys. Should I just stream this? Like, this is ridiculous. What am I looking at right now? Again, I don't want to go as far as to like commit to it as of yet. Still, we have an hour prior to kickoff, so we'll wait. But again, do not be too afraid of the BTJ situation. I'd suggest you play him, Cooper. Thank you. iShine101 sends in a question. iShine, hope you're doing well. Says, in a 12-team half PPR, at the flex, Devontae Smith, Thielen, Tracy Jr., Garrett Wilson. Thank you, Drew. Okay, so of your available options here, again, I think you got a lot of exceptional ones. Specifically, Tracy and Thielen are my two preferred. As to the two, let me see where I have Tracy comparatively. Between him and Thielen, I have them back-to-back ranked. I have Thielen one spot ahead of Tracy. Thank you. Skizzy sends in a question. Says, I know that you have the Colts defense ranked over Miami. I just need your reasoning. Yeah, look, this is the primary reasoning. So, earlier this week, forget even earlier this week. As it currently stands, considering Tua Tagovailoa is not going to be implicated within that offense, I think that effectively it is going to make their defense a little bit more potentially exposed to a situation in which they could get into positions in which they have worse field positioning as a defense because potentially Tyler Huntley putting themselves into bad situations. And additionally, the reason why Miami's defense had so much value earlier in the week in comparison to the Colts, again, because it's gone back and forth, specifically like earlier on in the week to start the week, I had Miami as my top defense. I've effectively moved them down because even though I do think that BTJ is the worst quarterback in comparison to Drew Lock, and he certainly is a turnover machine himself, the issue is the weather in that game. If it's going to be a heavy rain game, then both teams are effectively just going to be running the ball. And the turnover potential of DTR having to throw the ball isn't going to be as prevalent because, again, even now without Tua in the situation, we're not expecting Miami to take an early lead. So if there's not an early lead, then effectively there's not a situation in which DTR has to consistently throw the ball 30 plus times. While in comparison, when we're talking about the game in New York, Joe Flacco is going to lead this offense down the field. They're going to claim a 20-plus point lead most likely. And when they do so, it's going to force Drew Lock to sit in the pocket and throw the ball 30-plus times. And when he does so, it exposes that offense and specifically the fantasy defense to getting more interceptions via turnovers and sacks, which again, in a run-heavy game in Cleveland, isn't going to be potentially as viable considering the game script. So that's why I've leaned in that direction. But again, it's adjusted itself over the course of the last couple of days. But that's the direction as to why I go that way. Thank you. Nicole sends in a question. It says, I need 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. We have A.J. Brown, McMillan, Jordan Addison, Jennings, and Okonkwo. Cool. Of your available options, my current suggestion, Nicole, would be A.J. Brown, Jordan Addison as wide receiver 1 and 2, and Jennings within your flex. In a full PPR, that is an absolute play. In a half PPR, we could adjust it, but I think those are the correct additions to your roster as of this week. A.J. Brown, Jordan Addison, Jennings. Good luck. Thank you. Maurice Brown sends in a question. Says, I'm thinking about benching Achane in a full PPR. I have Zacchaeus, I have Ford, and I have Alexander Madison. I mean, I guess you could theoretically play Ford in his stead. I wouldn't go as far as going about that. Personally, I'd prefer to play Achane there, but I could justify the idea of playing Ford. Personally, I wouldn't suggest it, though. Thank you. Colin Smith sends in a question. Says, Dowdle or... What is the question? Let me go back up here. Or Amir Abdullah. I'd much rather play Dowdle in a half PPR. If it was a full PPR at that point, I could justify it. But in a half PPR, the potential of, let's say, for example, Kenny Pickett throws a shitty ball. It gets interception. Boom. The Cowboys are in the red zone immediately. Couple handoffs here and there. A couple broken tackles. Dowdle scores a touchdown. We're screwed, right? Like Amir Abdullah, on the other hand, in a positive game script against the Colts, probably less implications for him to get that receiving upside. I have him projected for a lot less target opportunity this week in comparison to last week. Same thing with Madison. I think it'll be a little bit more of a run-heavy approach, especially considering the lack of run-stop protection that defense, has shown. I have very little faith in the Cowboys, but in this case, I would have to suggest Dowdle. Trojan 3659 says, I'm playing Spears and Brian Robinson. Just a gut feeling. Trojan, let me see what you have here. Oh, you were talking about sitting James Cook, and you wanted to play Spears and Brian Robinson over him. Yeah, again, personally, I couldn't suggest that. But hey, listen, you got to go with your gut feeling. At the end of the day, guys, you got to make the decision. I'm here to suggest as to what my information of research and experience has kind of led me in the direction of. Doesn't mean it's 100% accurate. Trust me, it's not 100% accurate. There are many of situations that we get absolutely cooked. But obviously, I try to put us in the best position. I want to see you guys win as much as I possibly can. But I wouldn't go as far as the benching Cook for a guy like Brian Robinson there. Thank you, Trojan. GB, sends in a question. Says, am I overthinking? You've come to the wrong person. I am the classic overthinker. Says Allen with the rain / high winds / gusts all day, or Baker Mayfield with the bonus incentives, rain stopping before the game. Also, Evans has incentives. Okay, hear me out. If you were ever going to trust a quarterback in the rain, there is no other quarterback other than Josh Allen in which I would feel most comfortable with. Josh Allen is quite literally the guy that can dominate in any weather situation. Again, you got to remember, he played in Wyoming in his entire college career. Playing in Wyoming, there's a reason why he had a 56 passing completion percentage in his college career. It's because the weather and the wind there is awful. If we're talking about a quarterback that is most experienced in heavy weather situations, it is exactly Josh Allen. He's able to play in the snow, play in the rain, cut through 15-mile-per-hour winds because he has an absolute cannon of an arm. I would not worry about Josh Allen. He's my auto start. I'm not playing anybody over him this week. Thank you. Now, again, if you wanted to play Baker, that's on your own. That's got to be your own decision. I can't go about suggesting that there. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Ed Gallagher sends in a question. Says Shakir or Tank Bigsby in my flex. I'm going to play Bigsby there, to be honest. Between the two of them, I love the idea of playing Shakir, but again, there's just so much variable risk within that offense because there are so many mouths to feed. I believe I have Bigsby ahead. Let me just confirm this. Bigsby. Oh, dude. Okay, listen to this. In my current projection, I have Khalil Shakir at 43 of the remaining players and Tank Bigsby at 44. So even in my projection, I have Khalil Shakir one spot ahead of Bigsby. I'm going to go against my own projection. I would rather play Bigsby there. If it was my team, I'm probably going to play Bigsby. That's the way that I'd go about it. Now, again, if we want to just roll with the projection, Shakir is the guy. But I'm not going to. I'm going to pivot away from my projection on this circumstance. I'll just tell you to play Bigsby there. Thank you. Sebastian Alex sends in a question. Says Ridley or McMillan. I play. Ooh, you know what? That's an interesting one. It says Jacksonville might get delayed / canceled. I don't think it'll get canceled. They'll delay it all game long. Again, you got to remember this is an NFL game. There's too much money to be made for them to cancel a game of this caliber. So look, as it currently stands, depending on, let me see what the Tampa Bay weather looks like. Panthers at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me see what the weather looks like as it currently stands there. Again, we're an hour away prior to kickoff, but I just want to see. Okay, brother. I mean, what? It doesn't even look like it's going to rain in Tampa Bay. Are we kidding? What are the... It's just... Dude, I'm telling you, there is an evil organization of weathermen, weatherwomen, doesn't matter, that are trying to quite literally sway betting odds in these games. I'm telling you, there's something going on. Because I'm looking at this game, I'm looking at live footage from 2 minutes ago. Where's the rain? I don't see it, guys. I don't see it even showing up. It looks like sunny skies. What's going on here? It looks like perfect Florida weather. I'm confused. Again, we'll keep an eye on it prior to kickoff. We're still an hour away. Thank you. I'd play McMillan there. Thank you. Let's see here. Continuing on. Okay, we took care of that. We had a question from National Champ Rush. Says, never mind, Cleveland has been taken between Tennessee, Jacksonville, and Minnesota. Between the three of those defenses, as it currently stands, my highest ranked defense is Tennessee. Thank you. Moving on to Jose Montoya, who says, full PPR, Ford, Garendo, Devontae Smith, or Tracy in the flex, full PPR. Of those available options, I would suggest playing Ford there. Thank you, sir. Cole Reinhardt sends in a question, says, full PPR, Jerome Ford or Jameson Williams. Let me see where I have Williams ranked compared to Ford. As it currently stands, I have Jerome Ford ranked higher in a full PPR. That's the suggestion that I would make to you. Thank you, Cole. Appreciate it. We move on to a question that comes in from Chris Owens, who says, who should I flex today? Jerry Jeudy, Wan'Dale Robinson, or Dalton Kincaid? If you're playing in a full PPR, I would suggest playing Wan'Dale Robinson. If you're playing in a half PPR, I could justify Kincaid, but let me check my rankings for half PPR just to confirm. I believe I have Wan'Dale Robinson still ahead of him. I, in fact, do. Wan'Dale Robinson is my suggestion in both scenarios. Again, do not forget, Wan'Dale Robinson, in terms of usage of opportunity, has been one of the most kind of exposed wide receivers as of late. Specifically, the last 3 games, 32 total targets, 11, 9, and 12 targets in the last 3 games. If we're just talking about baseline of opportunity leading to success, I mean, again, he is implied for the highest upside of the 3. Tyler Von Essen sends in a question, says, crazy quarterback week, yeah, to say the least, brother. Says, I have Jalen Hurts, picked up Anthony Richardson, then Tua. Now neither of them are playing. Do I play Young, Penix, or Flacco? Also, Garendo or Spears. It says, leaning Spears. Yeah, I would suggest you play Spears there. As for your quarterback question, I have Flacco ranked ahead of Young and Penix. The order would be Flacco 1, Bryce Young 2, Penix 3. If the weather in Tampa Bay is not a disaster, I think I probably end up playing Young there. Thank you. Otherwise, have Flacco in the lineup for right now. Frosty sends in a question. Says Chigozimo Okonkwo or Jonnu. I'd play Okonkwo there. Thank you. Says with no Tua in a PPR. Thank you. I would go with Okonkwo. Thank you for another chip. No problem, Frosty. I'm glad to hear that you're able to make it there, brother. Thank you. Chris Owen says, forgot to mention in a full PPR with my last question. Okay, Chris, let me see here. Yeah, full PPR, Wan'Dale Robinson is the easy play there, Chris. Thank you. Chris, let's see here. There's another Chris. Bellotto sends in a question. Says full PPR, Achane or McMillan? I would play Achane there, I believe. Let me check my rankings. Let me confirm this. McMillan compared to Achane. Yep, I have Achane ranked higher still. Thank you. We move on to a question from Kyle Gracie, who says in a half PPR, I'm starting BTJ. Do I flex Ridley or Dobbs? I would flex Ridley there. Thank you. Alrighty, we took care of that question. We move down to a question that comes in from Insidious Tiger, who says, I need to cover 30 points. Neighbors or Reed? It's Neighbors. It's Neighbors. It has to be Neighbors at this point. The target volume of opportunity is just too powerful in that circumstance. Pro9 Brisk sends in a question. Says half PPR, Rashad White or Josh Downs? Thanks. Between the two of them, I would go with Josh Downs there. Thank you. Cameron sends in a question. Says full PPR, start 2, Achane, Tracy, Jennings. In a full PPR, I have Achane and Jennings ranked the highest. Thank you. BH1747 sends in a question. BH, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's see what your question was. The question was, big underdog this week. Start 2 in a PPR. White, Tracy, McMillan. In a full PPR, I'm playing Tracy and McMillan. Thank you. Moving on to Juan Sardina, who says, what's up, Andrew? Made it to the championship, and I'm ended up losing CeeDee Lamb, Chuba Hubbard, and David Montgomery. Brother, that's so brutal. Then played James Conner last night. Oh, you're just cooked. You are just in the absolute worst timeline. So I'm in a pickle. Should I go with Jaden Reed or Josh Downs in the flex? I need more upside. Damn, dude. Okay, so I have to play Josh Downs. I think that's the way that I go about it. If you wanted to play Reed, I could justify it, but truly, like, you've got to score 2 touchdowns there with Reed. I don't know. I don't love the idea of playing Reed. It's just so sketchy because anybody can score on any given week within that offense. There's no rhyme or reason as to the volume of opportunities that some of these guys get. Obviously, Reed in the last couple of weeks in a full PPR has been like a 10-point player. If he scores a touchdown, he's got great upside. But I think what Josh Downs is going to be capable of accomplishing because of Flacco's contributions is just, it makes him the safer play in terms of floor. And I think he also has just as much potential for upside. Diego Gutierrez sends in a question, says, Dowdle, Ford, or Tracy, can you rank them? Yeah. If I'm ranking them, it's Ford 1, Tracy 2, Dowdle 3. Thank you. And that's regardless of format. Thank you. We had a question from the novelist who says, can you break down Bates versus McManus? Yeah, look, the primary reason why I like Jake Bates is because he's been consistent all season long. And additionally, when you're associated with the highest scoring offense in the National Football League, the Detroit Lions, if I'm not mistaken, let's see here. ESPN, let's see, what is the actual point per game average for this Lions football team? The Lions are averaging 32.9 points per game as a team. Now, the Packers aren't far behind with a 27.5 point per game average. But again, when your offense is implicated to score more points per game, it will either lead to a greater direction of potential PATs or field goals outright. Jake Bates has been highly consistent all season long. He's got a pretty good solid range of overall potential. I think he is the better play of the two because of the association with the offense. Lorenzo Herrera sends in a question, says Laporta or Jonnu Smith in a full PPR, even with Tua out. Yes, even with Tua out, I would prefer Laporta there. Thank you. I mean, it makes it even more of a justifiable reason not to play Jonnu in that scenario. Liam Dutra sends in a question. Says, in my RB2, do I play Achane or Brian Robinson Jr.? As of right now, let me see where I have them ranked in a full PPR. In a full PPR format, I currently have Achane ranked higher. In a half PPR, I would go with Brian Robinson Jr. It's only that reception potential that scares me. If there's a potential in which Tyler Huntley wakes up and starts dumping it off to Achane today, it could give him the advantage. So in a full PPR, I would suggest playing Achane. Otherwise, half PPR standard, I go with Brian Robinson. Justifiably so because of the opportunity share of that goal line workload that he'll probably get. But if I was in your spot, I'd probably just go with Achane there. Thank you. Nick A sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, Ford or Adam Thielen? I believe I have Ford ranked higher. Let me confirm this. I do have Ford ranked higher. That's the suggestion that I would make. It says I have Achane, but I don't have the strength to play him with no Tua. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. So if you were going to play somebody in his stead, Ford's fine. That works with me, Nick. Thank you. Okay, we're good to go there. Nick VTT says, questions in the chat. Nick, thank you. Says, I'm projected to score 171. My opponent projected to score 125. PPR, Jonnu Smith or Ertz. Jaden Daniels is my opponent's quarterback. Also, I need to pick two between Neighbors, Achane, Downs, Tracy, and McMillan. Cool. So you've got many of solid options here. If I was in your position, I would suggest you playing Jonnu Smith there. I know that Zach Ertz has a couple incentives within his contract. We talked about it earlier this week with the quarterback and tight end rankings video. Zach Ertz needs 5 catches and 62 receiving yards to get himself $500,000 in incentives. Imagine, that's a crazy number. So hopefully they'll look in his direction, but I do believe even with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, Jonnu Smith is the better play of the two. As for your next question, between those available options, if I'm picking two, it's got to be. Let me see where I have Achane in a half PPR comparatively to those options, and then I'll let you know right now. As of right now, if I was in your position, I probably just end up playing Neighbors and Downs. If you felt sick to your stomach in the idea of sitting Achane, I guess theoretically you could go Neighbors and Achane, but right now Neighbors and Downs are my two primary suggestions in this situation. Nick, thank you, appreciate it. Colts or Dolphins? I'll take the Colts there. Jake Rings. All right, Eugene sends in a question. Says full PPR. Tua out, need a quarterback. I have Rudolph, Flacco, and Young. If I start Rudolph, do I start Chickasimo Conqueror over Kraft? Thank you for getting me to the championship this year. Okay, so if I was in your position, I don't know if I'm playing Rudolph there. If anything, I'd much rather prefer to play Flacco or Bryce Young comparatively. That being said, they're all back-to-back ranked, as you can tell on screen based on the interpositional rankings as it currently stands right over there. Right? Flacco 8, Bryce Young 9, Mason Rudolph 10. So again, relatively close within the rankings. I currently prefer Flacco. As to who I would play at the tight end position, assuming that the skies stay clear and it's not going to be an issue, in regards to that Jacksonville Jaguar weather, which again, the projection is thunderstorms as of right now from the most recent, live pics and videos from the stadium. It doesn't look terrible, and it doesn't look like it's even raining. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. Let me see here. So we'll see how this goes. As it currently stands, of your available options, I would try to play Flacco and Chigoziem Okonkwo. If you wanted to double up on the idea of playing Rudolph and Okonkwo just to have both of them as a stack, I don't have an issue with it. If you wanted to just go with the highest ranked players, Flacco, Chigoziem, fine. If you wanted to go completely outside of that and go Young and Kraft, I wouldn't even mind that. I think all of your players are so closely ranked that they could all produce high upside, and they could all be the justifiable play. But my picks. I'll go Flacco and Chigoziem there. If you wanted to go alternatively, I don't have an issue with it. I think, again, they're all so closely ranked that there's a justifiable position for each. Okay, Uriel Rivera sends in a question. Says, Jalen Hurts is out for me. Run with Jordan Love or Bryce Young? Jordan Love, thank you. All right, Football Daddy sends in a question. Says, good morning, Andrew. In a full PPR, I need 3 flex. We have Bijan, Evans, Bucky, or Spears. Cool. You have a lot of really good options here, brother. I think I just play Bijan, Evans, and Bucky. I think that's just the way I have to go about it. Am I playing Spears over Evans? I could justify it, but am I going to go as far as that? No. I would play Bijan, Evans, and Bucky. It says I really like Spears. I do as well. It says I already played Ladd McConkey and Higgins. I got lucky. I don't think you got lucky. You drafted a good team, brother. I mean, that's just what it is. You have a monster squad. So again, you're already in a great position to succeed. If you wanted to play Spears over Evans, you could, because again, you're up 70 points now. But as of right now, if I was in your position, I'd just play Evans, Bijan, and Bucky. Thank you. John Koziar sends in a question. Says questions in the chat. John, thank you, sir. John says the following. Says, hey, Andrew, I played Connor last night. Says, but I'm up. And I also played Higgins and McConkey. Okay, so you got saved. I don't want to get burned by Adams, who is hurt and not playing for anything. Let me tell you, he is playing for something. He is playing for Aaron Rodgers' 500th touchdown, passing touchdown of his career. Anyway, what do you think about playing Downs or Shakir? I would be perfectly fine playing Downs there. Am I going to suggest it? No. I would tell you to play Adams objectively. But if you were going to look to an alternative option, Downs is the next best player there, John. Thank you, sir. All right, we continue on. Let's scroll down here. I got to find the next question on the list. All right, the next question belongs to Ravion Jordan, who says, Flacco, Rashad White, Garrett Wilson, or Shakir PPR? Play Flacco. Thank you. Isaac sends in a question. Says, I had a 77% chance of winning the fantasy championship. Wanted to show my appreciation for the Patreon and the content. 2x champion in a row. Congratulations, Isaac. Hey, listen, job's not finished. We got to get the job done still, okay? There could be a lot of things that go awry here, but congratulations on getting here thus far. Gia sends in a question. Gia says, full PPR Goff, Mayfield at quarterback. Between the two of them, I would prefer to play Goff. Next question, Ertz or Okonkwo? I would suggest you play Okonkwo. Thank you, sir. Anthony Barrett sends in a question. Says, I lost Jalen Hurts. Do I play Young, Flacco, Aaron Rodgers? I play Flacco there. Thank you. Flacco 1, Bryce Young 2, Aaron Rodgers 3. Appreciate it. Sin Like Flynn sends in a question. Says, Madison leapfrogged Garendo in your rankings. Correct. Can you elaborate on the recommendation? Yeah, the primary reason why I'm leaning in that direction, based on how I've kind of projected out these games to go, I don't expect Garendo to be in a positive game script at all. So that'll potentially expose him to being replaced on a lot of those third down scenarios, even though he's a certainly capable receiving back. But considering his questionable status going into the week, my only concern is there's a potential in which either Patrick Taylor gets a lot of utilization or outright Kyle Juszczyk is playing on those third downs out of the backfield, which is very much so something that we would need Garendo to be able to be implicated for, to be a more valuable option in comparison to Madison, who takes on the best matchup at the running back position in terms of rushing statistics allowed. So as it currently stands, the way that game is most likely going to proceed, Madison, in my opinion, is a little bit more valuable considering that receiving potential for upside. And of course, the rushing touchdown upside additionally on top of it. Thank you. Josh Hargraves sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, Achane or Spears? I'd rather play Spears. Next question, Colts or Eagles? I currently have them both ranked right next to each other. They're both top-tier defenses within the given week. I currently have the Colts ranked higher. Again, I don't think there's a wrong answer, or I hope there's not a wrong answer between the two. Santana sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Downs, Hill, or Myers? Wide receiver 2. Play Josh Downs. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes from John S., who says in a full PPR, pick 3 of 4. Devontae Smith, Reed, London, McMillan. If I was in your position in a full PPR, I'm worried about Pickett and Reed. Went crazy last time he played against Minnesota. Yeah, okay, look, if you're okay, hear me out. It sounds, John, like you have a good feeling about playing Reed over Devontae Smith. I have no issue with that. As long as you play London and McMillan, I'm cool. As long as you do those 2 things, we're good to go. Otherwise, playing Reed over Devontae Smith, I have no issue with. Let's roll with it, brother. Thank you. We had a question from Mando Jr., 97, who says, Madison or Downs in the flex? Let me see where, if I'm not mistaken, I have Downs ranked higher in both formats, half and full PPR. Yeah, that is the case. I would rather play Downs across the board. Thank you. No Pressure sends in a question, says Downs or Dowdle. Give me Downs. Thank you. Peyton Whitaker says, hey, Pookie. Are you surprised Marvin Harrison did good last night? Nope, not surprised. The Rams are terrible. My Rams are the Rams are going to win the NFC West, and they're going to go get bopped by the Vikings or the Packers. I don't know who it's going to be, but one of those two teams are going to annihilate us in the first round of the playoffs. The Rams as a defense, allowing less than 10 points per game in the last 3 weeks is fantastic. But as an offense, the Rams are so awful. They should have lost that game. McBride on a legacy performance, scoring a touchdown finally. They were doing everything in their power to get him the ball. Marvin Harrison played well. I honestly think they should have given him more opportunities, but obviously, the pass rush got after Kyler with both your starting offensive tackles down. It certainly has not helped to, it doesn't help the situation where he's having to run for his life. Anyway, says, are you going to watch Squid Games 2? I've never even seen the first season, so I'm not familiar. Sorry, Peyton. Next question, Anthony Barrett says, Debo or J-Mo? Give me Debo. Logan sends in a question, says, PPR, pick 2. Wilson, Juwan Jennings, Jameson, Thielen, and London. Cool. Of those options, Juwan Jennings and London are my 2 highest ranked players. Thank you. All right, moving on from Logan's question, we go to BH1747, says Rachaad White or Devontae Smith full PPR. Let me see who I have ranked higher in a full PPR. Devontae Smith or Rachaad White. As it currently stands, I have Devontae Smith ranked higher, I believe. Where's White? Let's see here. White. Yes, Devontae Smith is 4 spots ranked higher than Rachaad White full PPR. Thank you. Chris Vela sends in a question, says, I know it's splitting hairs, but why London over Debo? Let's see here. If we scroll here. Okay, so as it currently stands, I only have London over Debo in a half PPR. In a full PPR, I have Debo ranked higher, which is interesting. The only reason on which I have it as such is because I actually do think that Drake London has a higher touchdown potential, mainly because of I'm about to say Alexander Madison, because of Marshawn Lattimore's injury and him being designated out this week. The volume of opportunity that specifically London had gotten over the course of that game prior to his injury was such a high rate with Penix that it truly does make me believe that in a full passing game script, he should probably be implicated for at least 12 to 15 targets. That's how much of opportunity he was getting last week. So if that kind of exposure to opportunity presents itself in a negative game script, he would be theoretically the better option. It has a little bit slightly higher touchdown receiving upside. Now, as for the rushing opportunities that Debo could theoretically have, could lean us in a direction, but that's the primary thought process. Otherwise, as of right now, I have Debo ranked higher in a full PPR. If that makes any sense, which honestly, in my mind, it still doesn't make sense, but that's how the projection has spit it out. All right, continuing on, we had a question that comes in from John Thompson, who says, PPR, Okonkwo or Jonnu Smith? I'd rather play Okonkwo, assuming the weather's solid. Hall or Spears? I'd rather play Spears. So I'm basically suggesting both Titans. Lucky Slevin says, full PPR. I started Connor, starting Darnold, Achane, St. Brown, McLaurin, Jonnu, Smith, and we have Bucky Irving. Bench is Ford and Garendo. Would you make any changes? Nope, I wouldn't make any changes. You're good to go, brother. Thank you. We had a question from Jeef, who says, hey, Andrew, I'm in the championship in a super flex league. I lost Jalen Hurts, Chuba Hubbard, and Pollard. I need upside on my quarterback too. Is it Rudolph or is it Flacco? I would suggest playing Flacco. Next question, RB2, ETN or Kendra Miller? I'd play ETN. Thank you. Let's Talk sends in a question. Says, Miller, Mostert, or Blackshear? Kendra Miller, Mostert, but I'd rather play Kendra Miller. Thank you. Nick Stano sends in a question. Says, if I had Josh Allen at quarterback, would you play Kincaid as a tight end stack or go with Okonkwo still? I'd still play Okonkwo. Says, I'm also in 2 championships playing against Okonkwo already. Yeah, I'd still play Okonkwo there, brother. Thank you. Let's see here. John Carlos sends in a question. Says, in my flex, Addison or London? Let me see where I have them ranked. I'm not even joking. I think I have Addison ranked higher in a full PPR as well. I have Addison ranked higher in a full PPR. What about a half PPR? I think I have London ranked higher in a full PPR. Yep. Dude, I don't know what I've done with Drake London in a half PPR. I don't know why he's so much higher. I think it's just touchdown upside. I think that's what it is. As of right now, both Debo and Addison in full PPR overtake London in comparison to a half. So again, theoretically speaking, if you wanted to play Addison or Debo over London in a half PPR, you certainly can. That's how effing close it is. It's just a matter of the half a point per reception notch that would take kind of priority in a full PPR format in comparison. But as it stands, what is your format? Full PPR? I would suggest you play Addison there, Giancarlo. Says I have Jefferson and BTJ going already. I love the content. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Giancarlo. Appreciate it. Moving on to Jose Montoya, who sends in a question. Says Dolphins, Saints, Raiders, or Packers, and reason why. Yeah, Dolphins is my suggestion. DTR is a turnover machine. The Cleveland Browns as an offense are rough shot, so it's going to be a pretty solid play to fire them up against DTR, who cannot effectively move the ball outside of throwing the ball to Njoku and, of course, running the ball, which, again, unless there's a huge run there, it's going to be a lot of ineffective kind of short yardage overall plays, which should lead to a lot of opportunity for potential sacks and hopefully a couple turnovers there. Thank you. In comparison to, of course, Saints, Raiders, Packers, which I don't love. I mean, I don't mind the Raiders as the second best option there, but again, comparatively, defensive-wise, the Dolphins are structurally just a better defense as a whole. Jonathan Del Angel sends in a question. Says, start two. HN, Madison, Thielen, full PPR. I would suggest playing HN and Thielen there. Thank you. Randy Schmidt sends in a question. Says, half PPR. I need two. Tracy, Neighbors, or Ford? Tracy, Neighbors, Ford. Of those available, and if I need two, I'm playing Ford and Neighbors. Thank you. Setting you straight sends in a question. Says, how close is it between McLaughlin and Reichard? If the weather in Carolina is clear skies, I'm playing McLaughlin. That's how close it is. To where it's only because Reichard plays indoors that I have him ranked higher. Otherwise, all week long, I had McLaughlin ranked higher. Thank you. Matthew DeQuinn sends in a question. Says, start one as my second flex in a full PPR. Tracy, Ford, McMillan, Mooney, and Shakir. Tracy, Ford, McMillan, Shakir. Okay, so of those available options, if I'm starting a second flex, where's Ford in comparison to Tracy's one spot ahead of him? Ford is my highest ranked player of the group. Ford and Tracy are the 1-2 combo. I would suggest playing Ford. Thank you. Gabe sends in a question. Says the following. Says, for the chip, do I start Spears over Breece Hall? I would. Thank you. Yeet sends in a question. Says, who do I start? AJ Brown or Terry McLaurin full PPR? I would suggest playing AJ. Well, in a full PPR, it could be variably different. Let me see here. Full PPR, I have McLaurin one spot ahead of him. Play McLaurin there. Thank you. Again, if you wanted to play AJ Brown, again, they're back-to-back ranked, so it really doesn't matter. I think you could just toss the coin up and let it fall, and both of them are going to ball out regardless. Giovanni Polk sends in a question. Says, who do I flex between Thielen, Ford, and Madison? Depends on format. If we're talking about a full PPR, I'll just take Thielen there. If we're talking about a half PPR, give me Ford. Thank you. Vo Innocent sends in a question. Says, in a full PPR, do I flex London or Neighbors? I would play Neighbors there in a full PPR. Thank you. Brandon Simmons sends in a question. Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate it. Says, Jonnu Smith or Hawkinson? I'd play Jonnu Smith there. Also, in the flex, Devontae Adams, Cook, or Scary Terry. Let me see where I have Cook comparatively, and I will let you know right now. In a full PPR, I have Devontae Adams ranked the highest. So it would be Jonnu Smith and the Devontae Adams comp. If you were going to go alternatively from the potential of Devontae Adams, I don't mind the idea of playing Scary Terry or James Cook. But in a full PPR, I'm going to go in the direction of Devontae Adams there. Thank you. Chris Vela sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Debo or Downs? Currently, I believe I have Debo ranked higher. Let me confirm this. I might not actually. Let me see. Debo currently sitting there. Downs is one spot ahead of him. But I mentioned it earlier. I'm just going to play Debo there. I will take the current iteration of my rankings, and I will make the precedent call at the end. I will play Debo over Downs. Says, or London if need be. If you need two. Yeah, as of right now, I play Downs and Debo there. Chris, thank you. Warren says, Thielen, what is it? Reed, Addison, or McMillan? If we're starting three in a non-PPR, I'm playing Addison. I'm going to play Addison, Thielen, and McMillan there. I'm cool with that. It says, I'm reluctant to play three in one game. Reluctant to play three players in one game. You don't have three players in one game, though. You have two players in each game. Let's see here. Austin sends in a question, says Bucky Irving or Josh Jacobs? I have to play Josh Jacobs there. There's no way I'm not starting Josh, right? I mean, again, Bucky Irving's a fantastic pivoting option if you needed one, but ultimately, if we're in this kind of a blessed situation, I'm just going to roll with Josh Jacobs. Thank you. Red and Black sends in a question, says wide receiver and a flex, PPR, Garrett Wilson, Adam Thielen, Jacoby Myers, Ford, Rico Dowell, and Downs. Cool. Wide receiver is going to be Downs, and flex is going to be Thielen. Thank you. Okay, effectively caught up. Anybody Eagles or Dolphins defense? I'd suggest playing the Eagles there, Billy. Okay, so again, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well on this wonderful Sunday. Again, we are about 34 minutes away from the kickoff of Week 17. Again, a couple reminders. Rankings are on screen or as of up to date, as of this morning, ready to go. Also, another additional reminder. For those of you who play in Week 18, I'm not disappearing. I will be here for all of Week 18. The upcoming schedule for this upcoming week will not consist of daily uploads, but I will be live streaming every single day on the channel, Monday through Sunday of this upcoming week. So if you guys have any questions, be sure to swing on by. I'm more than happy to help. There won't be very many of you playing in Week 18, so I'm sure I can get to every single question throughout those live streams. But again, if you do play in Week 18, which again, I would suggest that you probably not do that in future purposes, but if you were in a league in which that is the case, I will be here Week 18 to help you out every single night via live stream. I will also post the live streams on the channel after the fact. So if you needed to check out those rankings and all that kind of jazz, it'll be available. Thank you. Ivan the Terrible said, did you see my question? Yeah, I answered it earlier. I can go back and I can answer it again, Ivan, if you need me to to head back there. So your earlier question was full PPR Tracy, Addison, Achane, and Spears. In a full PPR, you said you need 2 running backs and 1 flex. My initial suggestion was to play Achane, Spears, and Addison. And then you asked Kincaid or Chigozimo Okonkwo. I suggested Okonkwo. Ivan, thank you. All right, continuing on. We had a question that came in from Tone. Tone, thank you very much. Says full PPR Laporta or Chigozimo. I'd play Laporta. Says I'm worried about usage. What usage? Laporta or Chigozimo? Which one are you worried about? Because honestly, I think both of them are going to get themselves pretty healthy usage within the upcoming game. Obviously, Chigozimo Okonkwo most likely gets himself a greater opportunity share, assuming the weather is going to be justifiable and not an issue. Jukester, what's up? Says, I do have a question. Do you trust BTJ in the weather or Tyrone Tracy with a hurt ankle? I'd rather play BTJ in the weather. Thank you. Reed or Ridley in a non-PPR? I'd rather play Ridley in that scenario. Thank you. Israel says, Debo, Garrett Wilson, or Spears? As of right now, I'd probably just play Spears in that scenario. Thank you. Why Spears over Breece Hall? Says Gabby. Yeah, look, the primary reason, the usage that Spears has been kind of privy to over the course of the last 2 weeks and exposed to in terms of rushing attempts and receiving utilization. Whether it was in the game against the Cincinnati Bengals, in which in the second half he had 8 targets, 7 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown, obviously on the ground, 1 through the air. Or this most recent week in which, again, in their efforts to come back, he had all the goal line opportunities and scored 2 rushing touchdowns. The volume of opportunity that is going to go in the direction of Spears, regardless of how this scoring kind of goes, whether it is a positive or negative game script, it's all going to be implicated to kind of run through him. With the absence of Pollard, it truly does provide all of that, potential of value within one singular player. And if we're talking about the value that has been presented over the course of the last 2 weeks, this backfield as a whole has been, I think totaling over 30 PPR fantasy points in the last 2 weeks here. So there's just so much value to be inherited by one singular player in Tyjae Spears that in comparison with Breece Hall, who needs to score touchdowns, I don't think he is as capable as what Spears has been kind of available to, especially within the upcoming matchup. I think it is the better play of the two. But if we're specifically talking about like the exposure to usage, if we go to Tennessee backfield, the last 2 weeks, oh man, 404 not found. Classic. Anyway, I found it. There it is. So like, back in week 15, the duo combined for 35 fantasy points. This most recent week, they combined for 29.6 fantasy points. If all that goes in the direction of just singularly Spears, there's just so much upside. I don't expect him to score 29 points, but again, there's a potential for it, right? Thank you. All right, let's see. Let's scroll down. We had a question that came in from Brandon Simmons as a follow-up. Says, Cook or Terry? I'm conflicted in a full PPR. I wouldn't say that I'm conflicted. I would say that as it currently stands, I have Terry McLaurin in a full PPR ranked higher. I have James Cook I have Terry McLaurin as my number 12 and James Cook as my number 15. I could justify playing James Cook. My only concern with James Cook is if Josh Allen shows up and scores every touchdown, they're up by 20 points, and Ray Davis and Ty Johnson are taking all the second half touches. That is my primary concern. The potential of the threat of these other options within the offense stealing value. In comparison to McLaurin, who I know has to score in order for that team to take their amassed lead, which I don't think James Cook has to score in order for them to succeed, which again, he proved earlier this season when they played against the Rams. It is not a guarantee that he finds success. He will, though. He will find success today. But I think in comparison to McLaurin, McLaurin is the better option. Thank you. MN Toon sends in a question. Says, need two from AJ Brown, Jacobs, and BTJ. I play Jacobs and BTJ there. Thank you. The Morrison family sends in a question. Says, in a half PPR, I need a flex and a running back. Ford, McMillan, Tracy, Thielen. Cool. Of those available, let me see where I have Thielen in comparison to Tracy in a half PPR, and I'll let you know exactly which way we're going about this. Let's see. Tracy. As it currently stands, my two highest ranked of the bunch here, Morrison family, is Ford number 1 and Thielen number 2. Thank you. Let's see here. Crazy presents says start 2 half PPR. McMillan, Ford, JMO. I would go with Ford and McMillan as the 1-2 combo there in a half PPR. Thank you. Actually, let me see. Do I have McMillan ranked higher than JMO? I think I have JMO probably ranked higher than him on screen. Nope, I don't. I have McMillan ranked higher. That's the direction I go with. McMillan and Ford. Thank you, Crazy Presents. All right, we took care of that one. We go to the max, who says full PPR. Wide receivers are Adams and Neighbors. Both were injured. Worried about them not playing full available. Addison, Downs, McMillan, Thielen, thoughts. I could justify playing Addison over Neighbors. I don't know if I would suggest it, but I could justify it. As for Devontae Adams and Neighbors, if I was in your position, I would start them both. If you wanted to avoid them because of the potential, I could understand it. You would go with your next best options are certainly Addison and Downs. Am I going as far as to suggest that you pivot? No. But if you wanted to make the executive decision to make that swap, I could justify it. Thank you. Nathan Dennison sends in a question. Says, McBride finally got us a touchdown. Dude, he should have had 2 touchdowns. I mean, that ricochet off the helmet at the end of the game is horrible. Absolutely just tragic. Austin sends in a question. Says, PPR, Aaron Jones or Spears? If I'm not mistaken, I have Aaron Jones still ranked higher, slightly ahead of him. Spears is 1 spot behind Aaron Jones. If you wanted to play Spears, I don't have an issue with it. Projected to win already. Yeah, as of right now, just play Aaron Jones. You're good to go. I love the revenge game against his former team. Jaden Kramer sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Abdullah, Madison, or Wicks? Between those 3 options, I play Madison. Thank you. Crazy sends in a question. Says, full PPR, pick 2. Achane, Downs, Garrett Wilson, need upside. Achane, Downs, Garrett Wilson. If I'm picking 2, I'm playing Achane and I'm playing Downs. Thank you. Aaron Northcutt says, Chigoziem Okonkwo or Jonnu Smith? I would suggest you play Okonkwo there. In the event in which the weather's an issue, then we could pivot. But as of right now, let me go to Twitter again. Let me see what the weather looks like in Jacksonville. Aha, the rain has begun, and it is heavy pouring rain. It is not even close. It is heavy. Dude, look at this. Hold up. Let me throw it up on screen. Okay, just really quickly. All right, I just want to show you the progression as to what we're just... Oh, I don't want to get DMCA'd. Shit. Okay. Just really quickly. I'm not going to play any videos. I'm just going to show you screenshots, okay? All right, let's just do this really quickly. Screen capture, okay? All right, so we're looking at this, right? A little bit of overcast, not a problem here, not a problem. Okay, then we go ahead, we scroll up about 30 minutes. This is why I said I want to wait until I see it. Look at this. See how bad this rain is going to be? It's going to be a problem, okay? It's going to be an absolute problem, okay? So, if you need to make your pivots, make your pivots. Please and thank you, okay? Cool. Continuing on. All right, let's close that really quickly. Continue here. It is pouring. It is absolutely pouring. So, if you were theoretically going to pivot away from your Okonkwos and Ridleys, do so. Do not pivot away from Spears. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're going to pivot, you're pivoting away from your Okonkwos and your Ridleys. I'm playing BTJ blind. I am playing Ridley blind. I'm playing Bigsby blind. Thank you. So in the case of Aaron Northcutt, actually, let me go. Well, we don't know what the weather's going to look like in Cleveland. It could look worse, but as of right now, if you're looking at that weather right now, you're probably just going to play, all your alternatives. That's probably, like, you'd play Jonnu over Chigoziem, right? Again, we're still 35 minutes away from the game, but again, the weather it didn't look good. I'll tell you that much, right? And it probably is not going to continue to look. I don't think it's going to get better either. So, yeah, no, that is a disgusting rain game. Okay, anyway, continuing on. Somebody asked Tyreek Hill or Addison. I'd rather play Addison there. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. Is there a new update via Twitter? It says Antonio Pierce, future. Anything new in terms of Blackshear named the starting running back? Yeah, that was anticipated. Active today, Marcus Willis. Okay, nothing crazy. Xavier Legette is active. Neighbors is active. Okay, cool. We're good to go. Just taking care of all those. We're good to go. Andres Damien sends in a question. Says pivot from BTJ to London due to rain. Look, London's going to still play in the rain as well. Don't get it twisted. Like that night game is still going to be rain in Washington. So I don't want to give you the indication that like it's only going to be a rain game in Jacksonville. Like we mentioned earlier, almost all of these games are implicated for rain. Now, obviously, the highest potential for rain exists within this Jacksonville game. But yeah, as of right now, let me see here. Jacksonville. Yeah, it's the worst of the two, but as it currently stands for the projection for the Washington game, it says definite rain showers, 96%. Again, that's a coverage. It's not exactly it's not a 96% chance. The area is going to have, there's a 96% chance that somewhere in the area, we're going to have rain. As to whether it's over the stadium, to be determined. But for right now, I just play the BTJs. You know, I play it blindly. Let's see here. Christian Trejo sends in a question. Says, with weather, Chikazimo, Concord, John Smith. Yeah, like I mentioned just moments ago. At that point, I'm okay just rolling with Smith there. Just to avoid the potential risk. Junior says start 2. Neighbors, Ford, Debo, McMillan, Shakir. I'd play Neighbors and Debo there, Junior. Thank you, sir. Anonymous sends in a follow-up. Anonymous, where you at, my man? Says, so am I playing Dobbs or Mooney over BTJ? No, I can't, guys. I cannot, in good conscience, I cannot suggest anybody over BTJ of that caliber. I couldn't do it. If you were told me, like, listen, I mean, even London, the guy just asked me if I'm playing London. I'm not even playing London over BTJ. Here's the thing. Andrew the Weatherman, I'm not a weatherman. Let me let this just be known. Last week, okay, week 16, okay, when Minnesota was traveling to Seattle, that game was supposed to be a rain game. I swear it rained in the first quarter, then it stopped and it never rained again. Okay, so again, this is all circumstantial as to the current circumstance. We are trying to base our future projections off of what we're looking at right now. It could change in the next 30 minutes. You never know. But as it currently stands, no, I'm not playing Dobbs or Mooney over BT. I can't do it. I can't personally. I will die on the BTJ shield. That's as far as I'll go. Thank you. Let's see here. We had a question from Troy who says championship in a half PPR. I need one flex. BTJ, Ford, or Spears. At that point, I'm okay going Spears. Conventional wisdom will tell you to play BTJ, but at that point, I'm okay going Spears. Opponent has Miami's defense. Would that edge Ford? No, I'd play Spears. Appreciate it. Alrighty, we took care of that. We move on to a question from Justin McMillan, who says, in a half PPR pivot, BTJ to Tracy. I can't do it. I can't, guys. Listen, I could understand as to why you would go about it. Are you going to hear me suggest that I would rather play Tracy over BTJ? Absolutely not. In no universe can I. Maybe in another universe. In this current universe, in this current setting, I can't do it. I personally can't. If it's my team in the flex position, I'm putting in BTJ. I'm closing my eyes, and as the game starts, I'm going to take a nap. And that's the way that I go about it. And if it happens, it happens. If I win, I win. If I lose, I at least lost knowing that I played my best players. I cannot play Tracy there. I just physically I can't do it. All right. So anyway, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Tic Tac YouTube who says, pivot from Ridley to Mooney because of the rain. At that point, I could justify it. But again, here's the thing. Ridley and Mooney are both playing in the rain. They're both playing in a rain game. So ultimately, it's just a matter of who you think is going to have the higher potential for upside with opportunity share, etc., which I believe is Ridley. So I wouldn't even suggest making that pivot, but I could justify it in your case. But again, I would suggest you play Ridley. If you want to go elsewhere, that is up to you. Lethal Jake says, I'm torn between Miami and Indianapolis defense. Play the Indy defense. Trust me, brother. Trust me. Tony Wick sends in a question. Says, full PPR. I'm torn between Thielen and Garrett Wilson. Play Thielen. The primary reason why I trust Thielen so much is because, again, without a running game, without Chuba Hubbard implicated within the offense, it is going to be a heavy passing approach. On top of the fact that Thielen last time out against that Tampa Bay defense, 10 targets, 9 catches, 90 yards, and a touchdown, 19.9 half PPR fantasy points, had a monster game against that defense. Should be able to produce, obviously not up to that level of production, but certainly somewhere within the realm of possibility in comparison to Garrett Wilson, who, quite frankly, is just a second fiddle within this offense and doesn't get enough opportunity share, especially down in the red zone. Niner86 says, in a half-point per reception league, do I flex Achane or Neighbors for the championship? Or, now that the weather is, should I sit BTJ and Neighbors or McMillan? Oh, man, no. I can't sit BTJ, guys. I don't know if I can do it, man. I can't. You guys are going to ask me. I physically can't do it. Now, I'm looking at the... Oh, my God. The weather is so bad there. I'm going to play... Oh, my... It's happening again. My brain. Okay. Let's think about this. Again, personally, I'm going to tell you this is the final time I'll say it, and then we'll continue on by I'll keep it status quo. I'm playing BTJ because I have to. The way that I just have to. There's no reason for me to Is Pollard active today? Why do I feel like... Wait a minute. He's not active, right? He's out. Good. Okay. Anyway, I got to play BTJ. I just I have to. He's a top tier receiver. If I go away from him, it has to be somebody comparable, which again, in the case of the prior question, would be Spears. Am I sitting him for McMillan? I can't go that far. I could justify it for Neighbors. I just, at the moment, if I was in your position, Niner 86, I would play Neighbors and I'd play BTJ there, to be honest, this week. Thank you. Corey Miller sends in a question. And says the following. Spears or Achane? I'd rather play Spears. Pivot, Chigozimo Okonkwo, and play Ertz or Juwan Johnson. I'm okay with the Ertz pivot. If it was my team, I would still roll with Okonkwo. Thank you. Because again, that Washington game is still going to have rain. It's funny how you guys are always suggesting pivots to Washington's game. It's just as much of a rain game. Carlos Laurie sends in a question. Says, full PPR flex, Coker or Wanda Robinson? You have to play Wanda Robinson there. Thank you. Question from Kyle, who says, Reek or Blackshear? Full PPR. One moment. I would suggest you play Tyreek Hill. Thank you. Moving on to a question from Vinny Jordan. Says, I had Burrow, Higgins, Kyron, Seahawks defense, championship season. Congratulations, brother. Head Shop sends in a question. Says, pivot from Okonkwo to Conklin/Akins. Here's the thing. It's not like that Buffalo game doesn't have rain either. So I just stick with Chigozimo Okonkwo. Again, you guys are the final decision makers. I'm just going to tell you how I would roll it out. As of right now, I would still play Okonkwo over somebody like, theoretically speaking, Tyler Conklin. Thank you. Okay, taking care of that. Moving on to the next question we have. Billy Bishop, who sends in a question, says, playing against Gibbs/Bowers, Miami or Philly's defense? Need it. As of right now, I'd go with Philly's defense. Thank you. Next question comes in from Carlos Sanchez. Says, I'm torn in a half PPR between Thielen and Downs at wide receiver 2. Play Downs. Thank you. Emily Doyle says, in a full PPR, Ford or Rashad White? I'd suggest you play Ford. Matchup still 50-50. Yeah, I'd still play Ford there. Thank you. Tic Tac sends in a question. Says, Ridley/Abdullah, Miller, Coleman, or Cooks? Play Ridley. Thank you. If you were going to pivot, I can't play Coleman. I can't play Cooks. Kendre or Abdullah could theoretically be played in a standard format. Again, I could justify playing Abdullah there if you were just 100% out on the rain. But again, guys, I have to play BTJ. I have to. That is the player that blindly I have to play within that matchup. There are guys that are just too good to not play and are just, again, regardless of weather, guys that you just have to die on your shield for. That's just the way that I function within fantasy. All right, Landon Ramirez says, full PPR, Reed, Debo, Jonnu, Laporta, wide receiver, tight end, flex. I would suggest playing Debo, Laporta, and do I play Jonnu over Reed? That's really the question. Jonnu over Reed. I currently have Reed ranked higher than Jonnu Smith. So I would suggest going Debo, Reed, and Laporta. Landon Ramirez. Thank you, Landon. I appreciate it. We had a question that came in from Lethal Jake, who says, 0.05 points per passing, not 0.4. Okay. So you're getting 1 point per 30 passing yards? Or is that what it is? I don't know if you know how that works. Per passing. Let me do the math here. So theoretically speaking, if you get 30 times 0.05. Oh, actually, you get extra. Okay, got it. So theoretically speaking, if it was 25 times. Okay, so you get 1.25 points per 25 passing yards. So you're getting a little bit of an uptick, okay? Can't believe I'm debating Flacco, Rudolph. Yeah, play Flacco. Thank you. Again, the weather is enough to where I'm going Flacco. Thank you. Okay, continuing on, we had a question that came in from Twin Turbo who says Madison or White. I'd rather play Madison in a full PPR. Thank you. Pedro Martin says, this might be weird, but Garrett Wilson or Rico Dowdle. I think I'm playing Garrett Wilson there. I'm going to be honest. If it's a full PPR of any sort, half or full, I think I have to play Garrett Wilson. If it's a standard league, I could justify playing Rico in that circumstance. Thank you. Nick Stano says pivot to Downs over BTJ, and I can't. I'd have to play BTJ there, guys. If you want to make that decision, you got to make it on your own. I personally wouldn't be able to suggest that, even with the current circumstance. Kyle sends in a question. That's a really interesting last name, Kyle. Kyle Jakubek says Blackshear or Abdullah in a PPR. You said Blackshear or Abdullah Gill. I don't know what Gill is. But anyway, between those two available options in a full PPR, I think I'd rather just play Abdullah there. Let me see where I have Abdullah comparatively. As it currently stands, I have Abdullah ranked higher. Thank you. Drippy Dario says full PPR. Start Thielen over AJ Brown or Neighbors. Nope. I play AJ Brown Neighbors there. Thank you. Josh sends in a question. Says full PPR. Shakir, Ford, Myers need two. I'd play Ford in most likely. I think the next best option is Myers. Ford and Myers or Shakir. Yep, Ford and Myers are my suggestion there. Thank you. Chaos Lord 916 says half PPR. Ridley, McMillan, Dobbs, Devontae Smith. As it currently stands, McMillan is the number one. Thank you. Moving on to a question that comes in from Twin Turbo, who says White or Shakir in a full PPR. As it currently stands, let me see where I have Rashad White comparatively. I have Rashad White one spot ahead of Khalil Shakir. Not even joking. One spot ahead in a full PPR. So White is my suggestion. Thank you. Again, if you wanted to go Shakir, again, they're back-to-back, but White's my suggestion. Appreciate it. Deering Outdoor says in a half PPR rank, Tracy, Ford, BTJ, London, Addison. As it currently stands in a half PPR, the way in which I would go about this would be BTJ 1, London 2. Sorry, no. I think that's... Wait, is it London 2 or is it Addison 2? What is it ranked on screen? I know in a half PPR, full PPR is a little bit different. Okay, so it's BTJ 1, London 2, Addison 3. Then we have Ford 4 and Tracy 5. Thank you, Deering. Kenny Johnson says Travis or Blackshear. I would rather play Travis Etienne this week, Kenny. Thank you. Twisted Folk says in a half PPR flex, BTJ, AJ Brown, or Achane. As it currently stands, with that current circumstance, I'd be okay pivoting to playing AJ Brown. That's cool with me. Other team, I have JJ and Spears. I know I have to play JJ, but it's painful to sit Spears. Already sat Lad for Dobbins. Jesus, Louises. Yeah, it's rough, brother. But yeah, you have to play JJ. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. We move on to a question that comes in from Justin, who says, in a full PPR, am I right to sit Achane, Ford, and Madison for Spears? Correct. I would say that is the correct plan of action there, Justin. Thank you. Ray T says, in a half PPR, Thielen or London? I'd prefer to play London. Thank you. Timir K sends in a question, says, Jacoby Myers or Downs in a standard league? I'd suggest that you play Downs there. Thank you. Moving on to Tommy Vu, who says, thanks for all the help, Andrew, this year. I'm in the finals because of the rain. Should I start Juwan Jennings or McLaurin? I'd still play McLaurin there. I've already gotten McLaurin implicated with rain and still within his ranking. Thank you. Justin Wall sends in a question. Says, I'm going against Josh Allen. I need one in a full PPR. Madison, Shakir, or McMillan. Between the three available options in a full PPR, I would probably just play Madison there. Says, I got hosed by playoffs, cup for 3 weeks in a row. I bet he goes off next week. You're probably right. He probably does go off next week, Justin. Eric Bracker sends in a question, says, okay, by the way, Justin, I would suggest you go with Madison there. Eric Bracker says, against Goff, do I play McMillan or JMO? If the weather in Tampa Bay is okay, and it's not going to be an issue, which again, let me look this up. If I go Panthers at Buccaneers on Twitter, let me look what the weather looks like. Let's see what quick. It's sunny, brother. Look, this is what I'm talking about. Let me pop this up on screen. Look at this stuff, guys. This is from 5 minutes ago. It's absolutely insane how both of the, it was expected to be a rain game in Tampa Bay today, right? McMillan should be a start, guys. Let's just put it that way. But I mean, quite literally, look at this. This is 5 minutes ago, okay? It is beautiful sunny weather in Tampa Bay, Florida, all right? So let's just, let's do what we do. Let's play McMillan there. Thank you. Continuing on, we have the next line of questions here coming in from, I don't understand. The weather sometimes is so tricky. That's why I say we got to wait until like 5 minutes before the game to make some of these decisions. Ray Lomas says PPR. What do we have here? It says Tyreek Hill, Madison, or Travis Etienne. I would play Alexander Madison there, Ray. Thank you. Gio says James Cook versus New York or McLaurin versus Atlanta. Half PPR. Play James Cook there. Thank you. Okay, we take care of that. Peyton Whitaker says, do we think Saquon Barkley is MVP and will he beat the record? I don't expect him to beat the record. I expect him to surpass 2,000 yards for sure. And I expect Josh Allen to win the MVP. Thank you. Anonymous sends in a question. Anonymous says, Ferguson or Chigozie Okonkwo? As of right now, considering the circumstance of weather, I'm perfectly fine playing I'm perfectly fine pivoting to Ferguson. If I was in your position, let me look at the weather one more time just to make a final designation on the circumstance. Let me go Titans at Jaguars. Let me just confirm this. Yeah, as it currently stands, I could see Okonkwo playing well in this weather. I legitimately could see it happening. But if I was in your position, I don't mind the pivot there. That's fine by me because, again, tight end's a little bit tricky. But, again, really, we just want touchdown upside. But in a half PPR, I'm willing to pivot to playing Ferguson. Thank you. All right, we move on to a question that comes in from QT Miles, who says, with Tua out, should I still start Achane or start Dowdle? I would still start Achane. I do not trust Dowdle against the Eagles. Or pick up Madison or Abdullah. Oh, yeah, okay, that could work too. But as of right now, look, of the available players you have here mentioned, I still have Achane ranked the highest. Madison will be second. Dowdle will be third. And Abdullah will be fourth. Also, BTJ or London, I play BTJ there. So BTJ and Achane are my suggestions. QD Miles, thank you. Calling counts. It says in a full PPR, Kraft, Okonkwo, and Smith. Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay going Kraft over the two. That works for me. Tim V sends in a question. Says, okay, so Zacchaeus, Alec Pierce, Blackshear, Durham, or in a full PPR in a running back, wide receiver. Half point PPR, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Okay, got it. So if we're playing one in the flex, if that's the kind of receiving upside that is potentially available, I'd actually just play Durham there. Either that or Zacchaeus. As of right now, in a tight end premium of that capacity, I don't mind the idea of playing Durham there, to be honest. Is it sketchy? Sure. So if you were just trying to play it safe, you go Blackshear. But honestly, if you're going to get a tight end premium at 1.25, I think Durham is probably the guy. All right, Jigs sends in a question. It says full PPR, running back, Garendo or Dowdle? I'd rather play Garendo. Tight end, Chigozie Okonkwo or Hawkinson? Give me Hawkinson. Thank you. Somebody in the chat, Static says, McMillan or Garendo? I just play McMillan there. The weather's too good not to play him. Kevin the Credit Guy says, one more time, pick Pickett or Rudolph. Ooh, between those two in the current weather circumstance, I would just play Pickett as of right now. I've got AJ, opponent has Smith. Yeah. Give me Pickett there. Thank you. Fernando sends in a question. Says full PPR, Jacobs or Bucky Irving with no Chuba. I don't know if Chuba makes a difference on Bucky Irving's upside, so I'm going to play Josh Jacobs there, brother. Thank you. Will A sends in a question. Will says, start two, wide receiver and a flex. Half PPR, Tyreek Hill, Jawan Jennings, Neighbors, Breece Hall, and Brian Thomas Jr. Of those available, if I'm starting two wide receivers in a flex, BTJ, Neighbors are my wide receivers. My flex probably ends up being Breece Hall. Am I going to, oh my God, my brain's going to explode. Okay. BTJ, Neighbors. Am I playing Breece Hall over Jawan Jennings in a half PPR? What a classic Sunday. am I playing? I'm going to play Brees Hall there. So Neighbors, BTJ, Brees Hall. That's the 3 that I would go with. Thank you. John says last minute weather in Jacksonville. Start Madison over Chigozimo Okonkwo in a tight end premium. I think you should probably do so. Play Madison there. Peyton Whitaker says also White over Panthers Boone. Yes, I would play Rashad White. Absolutely. That is a given. Goff or Mayfield, safer floor. I think Goff has got the floor. Mayfield should be able to, be pretty destructive. Also, by the way, for those of you who are wondering whether you should play McLaughlin, the weather is pretty solid in that game, so I feel like it's pretty good. It says 20 mile per hour sustained winds and 40 mile per hour gusts in Cleveland. Yeah, that's going to be a defensive game and running game across the board. So a lot of rushing upside there. Christian Taylor says, woo, with the alarms. Jonnu Smith or Chigozimo Okonkwo? Play Jonnu there. Thank you. All right. Jay Hotz says in a question, says, with no Chuba, do I go Madison or Bigsby? Between the two of them, I currently have Madison ranked higher. Thank you. The Jukester says, only 10 more minutes of heavy rain, then it's going to clear up in Jacksonville. I guarantee you, as soon as the first quarter ends, it's going to probably clear it. No, I'm not going to guarantee it. But knowing our luck, it probably clears up. BTJ goes for 30 points. Watch. Just wait. It's just always how it is for fantasy purposes. It's big weather that's trying to intimidate us. We won't be intimidated today. Okay, guys? Let's see. Your Neighbors or London. Just play Neighbors there. Hugh says, Colts or Dolphins? I'll take the Colts. Spears or Adams, non-PPR? Give me Spears. Ando says, weather factor, Bates or McLaughlin? Again, I think both of them are going to be in clear weather situations, so I still play Bates there in this scenario. But I don't mind the idea of playing McLaughlin. It says half PPR, Evans, London, or Tyreek Hill. Play Evans there. Kraft or Okonkwo? Play Kraft. Thank you. Iceberg Wants Bag says, so we're starting Jonnu over Chig now. Yes. Brandon Vanek says, really wondering if I should pivot from off BTJ for London. I don't know if I'd go as far as that. But, I mean, again, you got to make that final decision. Thielen or Spears? Give me Spears. Playing the Colts over the Dolphins. You haven't let me down yet. Screw it. I mean, listen, if you want to play the Dolphins, I don't think it's a wrong answer either. I think they're both going to be good plays. I just prefer the idea of going after, the potential of targeting Drew Lock as the threat point. Commanders or Buccaneers defense? Buccaneers. Will Tran says full PPR, start to Devontae, BTJ, Spears. At that point, I'm okay going Devontae and Spears if you were worried about BTJ. But even then, I'm still sketched out about it. Gabriel Martin says, would you start Thielen over McLaurin with the weather issues? Or A.J. Brown with Pickett playing? No, I wouldn't. Christopher McKenzie says, Ridley or McMillan? Play McMillan. Thank you. Again, McMillan's back on the menu at a higher rate, considering that weather looks beautiful. Class of 97 sends in a question. Let's see if I can find your question in the live chat. Says PSA, always flex your late players like Connor. Yep. Agreed. Absolutely. All right, Spears on deck. Yeah. Good to go. It says, my question is, do I flex him or Adams? As of right now, if you're playing in a half PPR, I'd feel pretty comfortable going with Adams either way. But considering the potential of the re-injury, I don't know what the odds are in that scenario. I think it's probably in your best interest just to play Spears, just to play it safe. I think that is the safe play of the bunch. Thank you. Okay, we took care of that. Christopher McKenzie, we took care of. Renzo says Hawkinson or Chigozimo Okonkwo. I will just go with Hawkinson there at this point. Again, the weather is intimidating enough to where at a player of that caliber, I'm willing to pivot off of him. Thank you. ETN or Kendre? I'll just take ETN there. Pittman or Tyreek? I believe I have Tyreek still ranked higher. Ridley, Tank, Tracy? I'd rather just take Tracy there out of all those options. London, Garendo, or McMillan? I'll take London there. Downs or McMillan? I'll take Downs there. ETN or Kendre? I'm still going with ETN. I'd go with Jonnu Smith over Chigozimo Okonkwo. Frosty. McLaurin or Cook in a full PPR? I'm okay going Cook there, but I currently have McLaurin ranked higher full PPR. All right, guys, it's 10 a.m. Again, I want to thank you guys for an incredible 2024 season. Much love. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Again, I won't see many of you until next season. For those of you who are playing in Week 18, I will be back tomorrow with a live stream tomorrow night. And I will be live streaming every single day for the remainder of Week 18 up until Sunday of Week 18. So again, if you guys have any questions regarding Week 18 stuff, if you do play next week, which again, many of you won't be, hopefully you guys are able to bring home a championship this week. Hopefully the weather the injuries are not going to play too much of an impacting role within your overall circumstance. Again, thank you guys for an incredible season. Let's hope for the best. Fingers crossed. Let's hope that we can bring in home, a couple championships here. Outside of that, guys, I think that's where we'll call it. We're going to go ahead and cue the double helix. For those of you who are swinging back around for week 18, whether you play or not, I'll see you guys then. We'll talk about waiver wire pickups tomorrow night. I'll probably live stream like I typically do around like 6, 7 p.m. PST. And that's how we'll do it for week 18. Every night, 6, 7 p.m. PST, live streaming for an hour or so, talking about waiver wire pickups. We'll have the graphics on screen for like running back rankings, wide receiver rankings. So that'll be available, just no uploads. I just want to make it quick and easy so I can answer questions because, again, there aren't very many of you guys who play on week 18. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend's games. Let's hope for the best. Fingers crossed. Outside of that, I appreciate y'all. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace.